Boys is getting quiet. Go on and get crunk. Head back to Longview, Kelly popping trunk. I ain't even tripping. Riding and I'm sipping. Let me come through, 4-4, steady tipping. On that new lap. Watch the trunk crack. Let me sit sideways, CB running back. Maybe AP, maybe AD. I ain't even tripping cause we some athletes. Messing with Smitty in the summertime. He get pissed if we don't make our time. But we gon' get it cause we gotta finish. Nebraska Horn Hustlers, man, we diminish. Put them boys little, paint like a skittle. I ain't even tripping, I ain't never double dribble. Cause I'm a player from the Himalaya. Let me sit sideways, man. Maybe back door, maybe fall off. Sipping codeine cause I gotta kill a cough. Let me sit sideways in the big Benz. Oh, you boys, they my brothers, they my friends.
Welcome to an all-new Fullback U. I'm Brad Reed, joined by our host, JD Runnels. We're in our second week of kind of the quarantine edition of the Fullback U podcast, but we have some amazing guests that are coming up.
Yes, amazing guests, and you got some amazing technology, what makes it so much easier. It seems like, man, you're crystal clear over there. So,
yeah, I'm working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Jeff Frazier coming back. Him and PJ Mills, who's been on the pod a lot. PJ's been on a lot. Comes back in. They were actually teammates, so they've got a real. We're gonna hear some really cool stories from them, and just hear about what it was like at OU in the '90s, how they got to know each other, high school stories, and all that stuff. Man, it's gonna be good stuff.
Yeah, you know, they played. Both of them played for Schnellenberger, right?
I believe so. I believe that's what they talked about.
So when I was young, our church took us to the what was it, the FCA, I guess, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. They had a special FCA day at OU, and Schnellenberger was the coach at the time, so he addressed us all the church groups, and he said something to the effect of that he wanted us to go out there and raise a bunch of hell and then pray the next day.
Well, alrighty.
Yeah, and of course, you know, all the Southern Baptists that I was with were like, yeah. So,
that's awesome.
Good stuff.
Just a little awkward.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then in the other interview, we've got my man Sam Mays. Amazing interview coming up with Sam. Just everybody knows him, works with the franchise, has his own radio and pod, had me on his pod. Awesome dude. We're actually going to talk about, you're going to hear from him about me and you, Brad, teaming up with him.
Yeah.
Doing some more pods together and maybe going out to some more restaurants, sampling some more food, which I know you and I both are excited about.
Yeah.
And, you know, just taking this pod to a whole new level, man.
It's cool how circular life is, because I've worked with Sam at 2 different radio stations as well. Yes. So it's cool to see him again and talk to him again.
Yes. Going to be an awesome interview, man. Super excited to see how you hook up the highlights, bro. So do your thing, man. Super producer. All right. Welcome into Fullback U, and we got my super producer Brad Reed as always. But man, got a returning guest as always. Got my brother PJ Mills, been blessing the pod, and a really quick returning guest in Jeff Frazier. First, PJ, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I need to know what's your secret sauce. How did you bring my brother Jeff Frazier? I mean, he don't really do this. So what'd you do?
I got to be careful. You know, he's a ref now, so I can't say that I pay refs. But what I will say is that me and him have a friendship. Jeff, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling good. And Pete, you're right. I stay hidden.
Yeah,
you're right.
Jeff, you wanted to clear some things up from the last pod you were just recently on. Really, really good pod. We just talked about you created a hilarious meme with life insurance, coronavirus, life insurance. But anyway, that was hilarious. Anything you want to clear up from last pod?
Oh, man, there's a lot of things I want to clear up. Can't get into all of it right now. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my OU football brothers that came before me. You know, the first thing I said in my mouth was OU basketball, because that was a kid's dream.
Right.
I wanted to hoop. We all thought we could hoop. But, you know, I sat back and watched football. And actually, my dad, you know, he was a big OU fan. And so as far as running back, me being a running back, he told me about Joe Washington, shout out. Then one of my dad's favorites was Greg Pruitt.
Sweet feet.
Watched him. And then just right before me, when you look at Gad, being a taller cat like myself, I'm like, okay, maybe there's a spot for me. And so and PJ, we talked about this briefly, and I wanted to touch on this. Another thing that got me interested in OU after the on probation, that 1991 Gator Bowl.
Yeah.
All them boys was eating.
Talk about
Kel
it, PJ.
Kel had 300 yards passing. I think Deuce got him a touchdown. A-Hall, tight ends. Gad had 100. And so with our recruiting class, and I'll let PJ hop in on this, kind of what we were thinking coming into 92.
Absolutely. I was hyped off of that game. Obviously, Kel played very well. We're going to have him for another 2 years. I saw Corey Warren, who's like a big brother to all of us. He was eating and talking. You know Corey. He going to perform and talk.
Right.
No doubt. So I knew he was coming back, so I was going to get a chance to play with him and Albert Hall, and we all became family from that time period. But the passing, when I was liking that part. The ball was in the air a lot, and it looked like they were using receivers. They were having fun. They were balling, and that just gave me some certification that I know OU's a big program and it's legendary. I mean, you don't have to go to the school there to know that, but there's a place for somebody like me. I need the ball. I want the ball. I want to do something with it. And the combination.
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait to get into that.
No, it was a lot of fun. That game did a lot for me, securing me coming over.
Okay. Well, Jeff, you kind of mentioned it. I want to hear your opinion on PJ. When did you meet him? Did you think, the first time you see him, every time all he does is score touchdowns, you address him as Sir Touchdown? Is that how it was? I mean, okay.
Well, P, since he didn't grow up here originally, I didn't know him from, just our formative years. I first started hearing about PJ probably junior year. And we both ran track, but I never did cross his path until our senior year. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. But PJ, when I first started hearing about it, since he was up there in a different part of the state, was semifinals. So Westmore, we made it to the semifinals that year. It was us versus Tulsa Union and Enid versus PC North. And so we're looking at potential teams that we could play. And it's like, okay, this one cat's name stood out, and that was PJ. So from then on, I was like, okay, let me look out for him. Let me check what he's doing. And he balled. He definitely balled.
Yeah. Well, PJ, I've heard the same thing about Frazier. He wants to try to tell me he wasn't that good. I've seen the videos. The people that tell me he was great were great. Let me know when you first met him, first saw him, what you thought of his game, all that.
Man, he was big. He was a big back. He was fast and he was physical. Don't let this humbleness right now. Listen, he's always been a humble person. No, he's always been a humble person. But when it's time, he can go get it. He can run through you, go around you, and run away from you. And I ain't just saying it because he's here. Jeff Frazier's a bad dude. He may not tell you. He still got the record for the longest rushing touchdown in OU history. Now think about how many great players have played here.
Yeah.
He's got the longest. It was 96, I believe. Wasn't it 96 yards?
Well, 96, but Adams just got it a couple of years ago.
Somebody got it?
Okay,
I didn't know that.
Abdul Adams.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's second. He's second.
That was crazy.
Hey, but I got the record at the home field, though.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
So I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Oh, it's like
Puff
PJ
say,
said,
take
man.
that.
Take that. Yeah. But like PJ said, man, there's so many great ones to have any record. Hell, to be in any record book for it to stand that long really says something. Jeff, I want to get to when y'all got to OU. Talk about the bud. Give me some stories. Freshman year. Just let me know what expand on the workout talk, all that.
Well, I'll give you one before we got to OU. Before we got to OU, I got an OU story too. But before we got to OU, we'll hold off another story for another day. But one of the first times that I actually spoke to PJ face to face. Okay. More high school. It was right after spring break. So I'm just now getting my legs back underneath me. PJ already in shape. So we ran the 100. We both had good starts. P's start was a lot better than mine. So he had a step and a half on me. And so the crazy part about it to me was about 40 yards down the field, down the track, we ahead of everybody else. We just started talking to one another. So this is after signing day. We already signed with OU. we started talking to one another and damn near high five.
That's great.
Oh, you baby. Oh, you baby.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
We weren't saying that though. We were repping OU as we was finishing the race.
No doubt. That's what's up.
I've never done that before in my life.
The young athletes, but we did that. We were happy for each other. You know, we got to meet each other, and we've been 100 from day one. It was just fun that you know when you're coming from high school and you get a big scholarship to an iconic school. You're just so happy that people think of you that way, that you're that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, or at least good enough to be there and see what you can do. It was just it was a great time that eventually it got sad for me. Not that moment with Jeff. That was a wonderful moment. But I missed the state track meet because my father died.
Yeah.
A couple weeks before I graduated from high school. And so I didn't run the state track meet except the relays because they could put me on as a alternative or whatever. So, you know, me and Jeff were 1 or 2, however you want to look at it, in the 100. He was definitely better than the 200. Ain't no question about that. He was strong and can sustain his speed over the 200 distance longer than I could. I was a 100 guy. But, you know, he checked on me when I came back. You know what I mean? And that meant a lot. That, yo, you okay? I know what's going on. Sorry about that. You know what I'm saying? So, and he didn't have to do that. He could focus on the race, and we're going to be in school. We could talk about that in the summer or later. But now he took time out, and I always remember that. So I appreciate that for him. I mean,
that's real. Go ahead.
No problem. I'll just say, hey, one love, family.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's the same way I met my roommate, Jason Carter. Me and him was at a track meet. We was over in, I think it was Shawnee or somewhere. Jinx came down, Carl Albers there, with Kevin Bookouts at the same track meet, kind of like what y'all talking about. Everybody, we come together and everybody's like, oh, man, look at these 3 guys. They're all going to OU, you know. I mean, you got that aura that whole time. And, I mean, for me, hell, getting it so late, I was like, hell, I ain't one of these guys. They had OU years ago. Like, you know, they weren't worried about OU. They were getting other scholarships. But just want to talk about, you know, like I said, I met my roommate there, that friendship carrying over into OU. Jeff, funny stories. What you got?
Man, PJ, this dude, he is all about, no. It's nothing bad, Pete. Nothing bad. It's all good.
That's why he's laughing. That's why he's laughing before you started. Don't worry.
You know what 2 or 3
quality.
Yeah.
In everything in life, PJ is about quality.
That's real. That's real.
Quality over. Hey. Even so much to the point, I walked in PJ's apartment one time, checked out his closet. He didn't have like a whole bunch of clothes, but what he had, quality.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he clean.
PJ's car, quality.
Quality.
PJ's quality.
Yep. This is great.
I'm glad
Jeff,
you used that word instead of the other.
Yes, no joke. PJ, thoughts? Freshman year, sophomore year, just early stuff happening with Jeff. He got to play early, stories, all that.
Yeah, man. We both were good enough to make the traveling team and to play. First game was on Thursday against Texas Tech. You know, going down with the Red Raiders. It was on television, so like this the big time. You know, we're on television, and we're playing for OU, and we, you know, somewhat made it. It was just, you know, when I look back on it, some of the things I wanted to come across wrong. I almost appreciate it more now. You know what I mean? Because there's a certain confidence / cockiness that comes with a younger person. Nothing's ever going to hurt you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But I say this as the time goes along. Yeah, the games were special. You know, being able to represent OU was special. Being able to play at a historical college / football dynasty. You know what I'm saying? There's not too many people that can be put in the same breath as OU. Yeah, there's a couple. You know, Alabama, USC, Ohio State. There's a couple that can be in that realm. But the thing as you get older is the people you meet. You know what I mean? The people and the camaraderie that comes across. And everybody doesn't have to necessarily like each other or be close to each other. But there is a camaraderie when you're around each other that you show the ultimate respect. and
Absolutely.
you don't really talk down another Sooner when they ain't around. You know,
Real.
that's how we got down, because
Real.
it was taught to us.
Real.
Hey, listen, you're here for a period of time. Do your best, and like I said before, and this is I'm gonna be honest on this one. This is where Jeff did a lot better than me. Is, to be honest, I got caught up in the life. You know, I got caught up in the life of college.
That's real. That's real.
You know what I mean?
PJ, I'd be lying if I said I didn't.
There were certain things.
At a certain point, I'm sure we all just
got caught up in it. It was beautiful. Trust me, it was beautiful.
Hey, P, and it's not that I didn't want to get caught up in it. I got humbled with injuries.
Yeah.
So that kind of put me on the back shelf.
Yeah, you were focused though. You came in and was focused, and you did your thing, but you did the most important things. Hence, what you're doing now.
No doubt.
Well, yeah, and then to everybody that's watching, I mean, I've always stressed school, grades. I mean, that's always been a priority to me, and so I've had that since day one. Not that I was the best student. Not going to sit here and lie and tell you that, but that is something I definitely wanted to accomplish and didn't want anything to hold me back.
He was mature early. I would say that, JD. He was mature early.
No, I believe it. And he was
mature early.
I would guess, somewhat living around here, you feel like you know a lot of people around there, everybody watching you. So if you do go to the frat parties on Thursday nights as a freshman, oh wait, never mind. Anyway, no, but no, for real, you're right, BJ, and it's something that we talk about all the time with our athletes and the kids that we are around, of just certain decisions that you make and don't want to make. And it sounds easy, but when you do get on a college campus, women are way more beautiful. Everything is at your fingertips a lot easier with your parents not around. Point blank. Period. I want to get you guys. There was a guy on Twitter the other night, and you guys keep bringing up this Texas Tech game, and I think it will show you guys knowledge. And if you don't know, you can talk about a different game, but I want to talk about that Texas Tech team. They weren't in there. It was your first game. Do you remember players from that Tech team? Anybody stand out? Any plays from that game stand out? Jeff, you talked about one where you made the nice run. PJ, you got anything? Y'all just let me know.
Well, we played.
I ran the wrong route.
You always remember the wrong ones. You always remember the mess ups.
Yeah.
Always. Ran the wrong route. What were you supposed to run?
It was either or, like how close he was going to come to you. Like if he's close, you give him
go by,
or the shoulder a little bit and go by. He wasn't that close, but I wanted to prove myself so much that I said I can get him, and I got past him. But when I look back, and I caught the ball, it was like 63 yards. The first catch I ever had was 63 yards. But when you look back on the play, Kale's thinking I'm about to turn out, so he goes to almost throw it, and he has to pull it back and recock and throw it again. So if you see that play, it's not his fault that the ball came a little late. It's actually mine, because I'm trying to make a big play instead of running the play. So they got me kind of straight on that pretty quickly.
That's real. Jeff, any other games that you remember? Any other popular players from college that you can think of that you went against?
Oh, opposing teams?
Mm-hmm.
My freshman year, and I didn't play this game because I was had the shoulder injury. Suited up, but I think that was the last game I suited up. Man, because when I was saying like that last part, when I'm saying 6'5" with abs, USC came to town. Willie McGinnis. I'm like, what?
Shit, he was still in the NFL when I was there.
What? Yeah, Willie McGinnis and then Conway.
He's married to Layla Ali.
Who is?
She's married to Layla Ali.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Conway.
Right.
Absolutely.
PJ, anybody you think of stick out in your mind that you played against? Anybody give you trouble?
Willie McGinnis. I mean, the USC game. I mean, I how they run the little, down the line, little quick pass. I caught it, and Willie McGinnis hit me. I started walking over to the USC sideline.
Right.
Right. And they came back at me and turned me back that way. We got into a fight with USC. You remember that, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. Hey, speaking of fights, one coach in our squad that could break up any fight.
Mr. Lucius Selman.
There you go.
Oh man, they didn't want them big paws on him, did they?
Listen, he backed both teams up. It's on tape. Now, this is not a fairy tale. That's what he had both teams. Yeah, he was a real deal.
Yeah. Any other players, PJ, you can think of? Anybody else?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, we played in Nebraska. Jeff, I think at that point, was it Derek Brown was their running back at that point? I think it was Brown was their running back. Phillips was last,
and Brown was one of them.
Yeah, Brown was one of them. Their running backs got better.
Phillips came.
Yeah, Phillips. Yeah, so they were and Green may have been a little bit later, but the running back combination at Nebraska, their physicality, how big they were. We're freshmen, so we hadn't really. Yeah, we did our high school work, but we didn't get our. I wouldn't say our freshman. We got our college body yet. It was just skill, heart, and the tutelage that our coaches gave us. We weren't. Well, I'll speak for myself. I wasn't in the best I would eventually be at that point. Getting a little bit bigger because I came in at like 175 or something like that and left at 195, 200, something like that.
PJ, there's no shame in that. We all didn't come in like 80.
Oh, yes.
You see the picture I posted the other day, bro? Did you see the picture, PJ?
No, I didn't see that.
It was AD's birthday yesterday, so I'm sure you saw that. But my sister's moved and bought a different house, and a couple weeks ago, she brought me some old stuff from college. And I used to date a girl that had some boats and stuff out on Lake Tenkiller. And July 4th, my house in Norman was right there on Jenkins, so people could park there and walk to school. So the football teams take full advantage of that shit, right? So on breaks, I couldn't leave because there was a sidewalk there, and I didn't want anybody to get towed. Wanted to make sure everybody got their car. Wanted to know who was at my house. That whole deal, whatnot. Well, July 4th. I'm sitting there waiting, and Brodney, Chijoke, and AD still have a car there. So they all three come at the same time, and we're like, what are y'all doing? And I'm like, me and her about to go to the lake. What are y'all doing? And so they was like, we ain't got nothing to do. So they hop in the damn back. We go to Party Cove, Lake Tenkiller, take AD ass out there. Dog, he's out there at 18 years old, just looking like a chiseled up freak of nature. Everybody's looking at us. We 21, 22 years old. They like, why don't y'all look like that? I'm like, shit, I don't know. I trust me. I work hard. Schmitty works me hard. But no, I want to talk about more college games. Just give me some more game stuff, Jeff. Game action, and I also want to get about your coaches. Any games that stick out, and any coaching moments besides the Selman breaking up fights.
You go ahead with it. Start us off, P.
Okay. I would say the first time we played in Nebraska, I believe it was at home. Our freshman year is at home. And it was special because it was like, Coach Mike Jones, because he was special teams coach back there. And he was the one, he said, listen, Texas and Nebraska. Mm-hmm. Everybody counts, but Texas and Nebraska, that's who we got to beat.
Mm-hmm.
That's who we got to beat. If you want to be remembered, you got to beat Texas, Nebraska, and you got to at least get to the Orange Bowl or National Championship. That was the deal. Every game mattered. We took every game that week serious, but he was just giving the overview of expectations that was going to be around us. So I'm like, Nebraska. I mean, I'm like, 1983, one of the greatest teams of all time, and lost by decision against Miami, how consistent they were. And this is Big Red, how I look at it against somebody that's trying to be Big Red. That's how I look at it once I became a Sooner. But it was like, wow, I'm in the OU Nebraska game. This is one of the greatest games ever played, and I'm here, and I'm actually playing in it. Mm-hmm. So that was special. But then after the game, I got to meet the guy that's my favorite player. He's not the best player. He's my favorite player because Jamil Holloway.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I'm a kid. I'm 13 maybe. I'm in Virginia. I think it was A&M. Somebody, they were about to blast 70-some points, something crazy like that. They put it on him. He's on TV with Louis with a fur coat and a Louis Vuitton bag. And Jeff, me and my mentality at that point, I'm like, who's that?
Right.
I don't know who he is, but I like him.
He doing something.
I like him.
He flexing.
He got a fur coat, Louis Vuitton bag, and he talking that talk.
Right.
And then I found out he was walking that walk.
Right.
One of the greatest option quarterbacks, my favorite option quarterback of all time. And I love CT as well. Those two guys, I wore 4 because of Jamel, and I later on in my career in college, I took that Nike headband because Charles had the Honto. Yo, I didn't do that. Mm-hmm. I took the Nike headband, put it around my neck, and on a Charles. Yeah, cleared away. And so, I had 4 because of Jamel.
I don't mean to cut you off, but you just said something, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. I might strike a nerve. I apologize if I do. But you guys just mentioned a few black quarterbacks. You mentioned Kale. I consider him black as well. No, but no.
Hey, Kale was cool. Kale was my guy. I just leave it at that. Kale was real cool.
Was that something that? I don't. It's not to bring race into it. Was that something that was? How do I say more? I don't want to say more accepted. Did the coaches look for that? Did the coaches look for black quarterbacks back then?
I would say yes. I'm gonna tell you why though. Steve Collins was there. Now I'm gonna be honest, and Jeff, I don't know how you feel about it. I definitely want to get your opinion on this. There was a little feeling in the locker room still left over from the transfer, I think, with the Steve and Kale. Did you feel it?
There was. It was definitely there. No.
Steve was the quarterback when OU was undefeated. I think 2 years before we got there. I think, Jeff, and they made the switch to Kale, right? So, to me, and I'm glad you said it too, I always felt a little bit. Now, the thing was, it wasn't that anybody disliked Kale that I knew of, because I loved Kale. Mm-hmm. He was cool. I just think that I thought that a lot of people of the older players didn't like that switch because Steve didn't do anything to lose it. Right. So I don't think it was ever anti-Kale. I don't think it was that. I think they didn't like how that switch happened when I think it was top 4 in the country or something like that, undefeated against Texas, and you get switched in the middle of the game. So there was a little of that I thought was still a little bit in the locker room. And then, obviously, about the walkout the freshman. Our freshman year was crazy. If you really think about it, fighting USC, you got the residue of the switch somewhat. It wasn't major. Then you got the walkout. People thought it was because we was going to the Malcolm X movie. Like, okay, the movie's that. I mean, they thought that's really what they thought because we want to go to the movie. I'm like, the movie at night, afternoon.
Denzel killed that movie, man. I mean, get your hand out my pocket. That still gives me flashbacks, bro. PTSD. I don't know how to react off that. What a great movie. Talk about the coaches. I want to hear some coaching stories. You already talked about the Selman. Thought it was interesting that you guys talked about, PJ. You're coming out of the era of the guys that won the Natties in the 80s, and then you're in before the era of probably the greatest Nebraska team. So y'all are right in the middle of that. Just talk about all that.
Hey, PJ, I got a question for you. Who recruited you? What coaches recruited you?
Yeah, I never told you okay, I've told him before. It was Coach Selman and Coach Proctor.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
See, y'all were big dogs. Now,
Boo went and saw Mike, though.
Oh, yes, I heard that. Yeah.
Boo went and saw Mike and said, though. Coach Blake went and saw Mike and said, though.
Everybody don't know that. Boo Blake.
No doubt.
Did you go see Blake while he was in town, Frazier?
Yeah, yes. PJ and I, we were there at the church when he was in town.
Nice. Yeah, we were at that church too. Yeah, with Mike. Nice. Mike's church, and Coach Blake was there. And when you talk about the coaches, I wanted to bring this part up. I think I told you this before, JD, so I apologize. Maybe some didn't hear it. There are 2 coaches that I don't think get the respect they deserve. Listen, Coach Swiss is an all-timer. We know. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time, one of the greatest people of all time, one of the most open-minded people of all time as far as race issues. He don't care about that. He helped with Miss Black OU. He helped with Special Olympics. He's got a huge heart. He gets the respect that he's earned through his life. But Gary Gibbs and Boo Blake don't get the respect they deserve. Gary Gibbs was a linebacker playing on the national championship team in the 70s. So if you didn't think he did enough as a coach, that's fine. But you don't have to besmirch his name because he won a national championship. And those 80s teams that people love, he was the defensive coordinator. He was so good, USC wanted him. That's how he became defensive coordinator because he was going to go coordinate in USC when USC was still USC in the early 80s. So his contribution to this university has been woefully underrated. Is he Barry Switzer? No, he's not Barry Switzer, right? And also there was probations he had to deal with. So I'm not saying he was as good as Barry Switzer. I'm not going that far. But what I'm saying is Respect what he brought to this program. Defensive coordinator for a national championship, linebacker for a national championship. Any of these teams you love, he had something to do with it, whether playing or coaching for. Respect that and say that. And with Boo Blake, a lot of these guys, these great football players that have come through here, he brought them here. So if you're only looking at head coach and head coach Gary Gibbs, you're missing the overall picture of what they brought to this university during their total tenure. That's all I want to say on that. Respect what they did, the journey that they gave this program. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
No, you did.
No. You're absolutely correct. And what Gary brought to the table. I mean, if nothing else alone, respect that man as a player.
Yes.
Respect that man as a player. Now, on top of that, defensive coach, defensive coordinator, and don't talk ill upon this man because, we didn't win a championship when he was the head coach. He gave so much to this program. We all should respect that.
Yep.
Jeff, remember when I told you my dad died a couple weeks before I graduated from high school? I want to bring it up because of this. He called me in his office like the first week. You know me, I'm like, what'd I do? He said, sit down. I said, hold on, coach. And he looked at me stern, and he had him close the door, and he said, you ain't doing nothing wrong. I just want to see how you were doing. I know this is a new start for you. Your dad isn't here. You have a great mom, but your dad isn't here. I know that's weighing on your heart. I just want you to know that I care about you, and I care how you're doing. So if you need to talk, it don't go no further than in this room. Now, I'm only saying that now because that's the story between us. It's nothing negative that he said. But that meant a lot to me. That meant a lot to me that he took time out because he got a lot of stuff to do to make sure I was all right. I just got there. I hadn't even done anything for him. So I always remember that part that he looked out. He wanted to see how I was doing. And he continued that. Now some of the meetings later was because of missing class a couple times. I ain't got nothing negative to say.
Right. And then the piggyback off of that, JD, we talked about just mental health, depression. Just touched upon it briefly last time. That time I was coming out of rehab at 94, body wasn't responding. A couple other things happened in life. I went to the office and talked to Coach Gibbs, and I'll give it up to he was there for me. He helped me out right there at the time that I needed it. Oh, because I'm sitting there just bawling, like a baby, and he helped me out.
It's the same thing, man. I crumbled in Bob's man when my mom was passing away. What was you gonna say, P?
No, I'm listening. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that was the same thing that happened with me, man. You before you know it, shit just weighs on you too much. We still not, 21, 22 years old yet. I mean, shit, we just going through grown situations that hell at 18, 19, it was really, really rough. I mean, what you got, P?
Oh, no, that's it. I mean, it's well said. I mean, when we say family, like I mean it. When I say, "Oh, you familiar?" I mean that. And listen, family have inner turmoil. Don't agree. Sometimes family don't talk to each other. But for the most part, this is like 60s, 70s, 80s on up. If they know you play there, they're gonna show you respect. Yep. You know what I mean? Now, let's be honest. There's a hierarchy if you want some championships and you got some awards. There's a hierarchy.
That's real.
They don't treat you different. You know what I mean? They don't treat you different, and that's one of the beauties that I love about this school is the legacy beyond when you play. Now we all know, if you win, I've said this before. If you win, people just want to know what year you played a lot of times. And if you were on the team in a winning era,
2000 team. Oh yeah, you're great.
Right. Even though
I rode the bench. Yeah. Right. I didn't really get to play, but I was on the 2000 team.
So but you got the chip. So if you were on a team that didn't win as much, but you're Cedric Jones, you're not looked at as where he's supposed to be looked at.
It's ridiculous. Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. So let's talk about this. Let's get to some OU football. The disconnect. You guys led up to a team that won the national title we talked about in 2000. Hopefully we made you guys proud. even though we didn't win the whole damn thing, I mean, we competed for it. Seems like when I got there, Jeff and PJ, it was told to me, the national championships are all we care about. And we haven't made that or won it. Is there a disconnect? Is there something that you guys learned that we didn't? Is there something that we're missing? Is it just talent? What do you think?
Oh, to be able to win it?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a combination.
What did Coach Selman and those guys tell you? And then, what did you see from those Nebraska teams on? Is there similarities here and there? Let me know.
One thing, just on the individual thing, is confidence. Man, you have people down there that have breathed life into you. And you have some that may suck it away. Concentrate on those that breathe it into you, because that can elevate and enhance your game. So let's concentrate on the positive stuff, not necessarily feed into the negative. I say let's just start there. Talent, yes. JD, we spoke before. Got to get some difference makers in there, somebody that can make some plays, key plays, right moment, right to where the lights aren't too big. Because sometimes the moment can be too big for somebody.
Real.
So if we can get a couple of players that can make a difference, I mean, that'll help. But who am I? I don't have any rings at all. So who am I to tell somebody?
No, it doesn't matter. You played, man. PJ, what you got?
I mean, a lot of stuff is timing too. Like who are you up against? Some people consider those the 94, 95 Nebraska teams. So I think the best team I ever saw was 01 Miami, but a lot of people think it's 95 Nebraska, right? So we played them close in 94. Jeff, you remember, the gap wasn't that big in 94, 95. It was a big gap. It was a big gap. Yeah. I'm just being honest. Big gap in 95. They gave it to everybody. Isn't 95 the reason that Bob ended up being in Florida?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Was that? No. Yeah, that is it. Because they lost in January 96 in the championship, and they came back January 97 and won at Florida. You're right.
Yeah. So and then you have the Snellenberger situation where I never understood why they hired him until much later. So I got it after it was over.
Oh, I still don't know. Tell me. I still don't know. Tell me. I still don't know.
Okay, this is why I got why they hired him years later. When I watched the documentary on Miami, and when I saw what Miami was before he got there, and then how he galvanized the area and kind of put like a rope around Miami of their great players. You know what I'm saying? He was able to keep the great players in Miami home. And he got to the national championship game, obviously won it against Nebraska, that 83 team that a lot of people think was one of the greatest teams of all time. And then he left, and obviously Jimmy took over. So he kind of started the Miami run. And when I saw how he did it, I understood why they said, okay, well, he's built something, or he's won a championship. He knows what the bright lights are. He knows what it takes to get on that level. We have a quarterback with that. A coach with that pedigree. Let's see if we can get him in here and he can do it for us. So I understood a little bit later why in the beginning they wanted to get him Frazier, not once he was there, because he knows football. He knows football. But sometimes I think being the man sometimes comes from. I don't know how you looked at it.
Yeah. I want to hear y'all's opinion on the current team. Pretend you guys go get to talk to him. Lincoln Riley calls you up. You're in front of the team. What's your message to him, Jeff?
Ooh. I hate to sound like everybody else, but I'm going to start off with defense. And actually, I'd probably take a step back and approach it this way. Coach, I don't care how many points you score.
Ooh.
That's it may look good on paper, but is that really how we're trying to win games? What we're going to do next? Defense, special teams. So when's the last time we won a game 21-14, 21-17?
Can't even remember.
So, and if you just, not even with Lincoln Ronnie, but you go back to the 08, that 09 championship with Florida. What was it, like 24-14?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the type of games you have to win. That team that year, they were scoring 60 points a game, setting records all over the place. But whenever you come against top-notch talent, top-notch defense, you're not always going to score 60. So can we win that 21-17 type game? So I'd start there with defense.
PJ, what's your message?
Yeah. I mean, what he just described sounds like 2000. And what I mean by that is blowing people away, and then you get in the big game and it's close. Oh, we can win a close game. We can blow you out. We can win a close game. Again, this in no way is to be years after I've played to act like I was better than what I was. But I care about this program. They gave me an opportunity. And I never forgot that. When I say something negative, it's out of love. You know what I'm saying? I hope that comes across. Like when
Absolutely.
I'm frustrated with the defense, it's because I care about that program. It means something to me. It means, I'm from Virginia, but who you with? With OU. Mistaken about it. Wherever I'm going, I'm with OU. Yep. And I care what happens to this program. I'm not one of these guys, I got mine or whatever out of it, and now I don't care. No, I care. And it's worse now because there's nothing you can do. You just sit there and just hope it gets better. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of former players is like, and I'm not just talking about just this era. Whenever our team is in trouble, it's like, come on. Because it really is a family for so many people. And I would just say that I think Lincoln Riley is the right guy for the job. Maybe he has, but he needs to find his Mickey Andrews. And what I mean by that is Bobby Bowden was the head coach. He helped recruit, right? And he was able to come up with, out of the box thinking offensive. Lincoln Riley is an offensive savant, right? So, yes, we have to start on the defensive side of the ball. And this isn't saying this like, oh, you were so good. No. This isn't saying this like, oh, you're trying to downgrade them. No. But when if you accept a scholarship to the University of Oklahoma, it is your responsibility to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I say that as me and Jeff in the early 90s. We didn't do what was expected of us, right? Yeah. Now, it could be injuries, it could be coaching, but all that's excuses. This is a get it done or you didn't get it done type of situation. Mm-hmm. Our talent was undeniable. Now, yes, there was some different coaching situations and coordinators and time and probation, all that. We know all of that, but nobody cares. They don't care about that. This is a results-driven game, and we have to get better on defense. When is the last time, and I'll say this every time, people get tired of it, but it's the truth. You have to be able to evaluate talent, sign it, develop it, and stack it. That's the only way I know how to go from, and I'm not talking like we're in a bad situation. We went to the Final Four. I'm saying I want us to get to, when we get to the Final Four, we're not saying, ooh, it's going to be rough. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be like, we have what we need. Now, if we don't get it done, it's not because we were lacking anything. It's because they were better. So Jeff, when is the last time you've seen a complete part of the defense, like a complete D-line or a complete linebacker core or a complete secondary? When's the last time you've seen that?
It's been a couple of years, but bringing that up, I don't want us to sound like that. Oh, you was still all that. But here's the question: if we're winning Big 12 championships constantly, what is it that we're lacking to go to the next level? Is it something that we need to think about a program of jumping ship to a different conference? Talking about getting access to a better talent pool? Because you just mentioned D-line now.
Should have did that shit 10 years ago.
Some boys in the Southeast can go.
Should have did it 10 years ago, brother. Because we ain't got nobody. Listen, and I want to get y'all's thoughts. I was going to ask y'all this, okay? And you can answer it by saying this. So I want you to think about it. the year OU will win the next national championship. What year do you think that'll be? And again, it's not in a negative way, but just my opinion is there's going to be 2 or 3 teams, whether it's going to be Bama, Clemson, and whoever the hell else is in the SEC that year that's doing work, and we know what kind of work they like to do. LSU, Georgia, Auburn, there's a handful of teams that are getting crops of talent, especially in state, that we don't want any part of when we get to the playoff. Because where we have 1 or 2 draft picks on defense, they have 10. They're what we used to be. And we're not going to, what you saw against LSU, you're going to see. Dude, we were down 28-0 on Bama. I mean, it just did. There's to me, the gap is widening, and I don't see us being able, Jeff, like you mentioned, to have the talent pools to get us back there right now. What do y'all think?
Man, I thought we had a very good chance to win it in one of Baker's years. Was it that Georgia year?
The Georgia year.
Yeah, man, that one. Yeah, that one kind of stung me. I thought that one was a year.
I thought we took our foot off the pedal, though.
Yeah, offensively, we have the skill position, running back, wide receiver, O-line. You know, they're solid. Been top O-line in the country the past few years. Quarterback position since Baker's left, I think we need a little bit more consistency. Even though Murray, great, Hurts, good, but we need somebody in there at the quarterback position that's going to spend more than just 1 year, in my opinion. And then you just go back to the defense, just getting some top-notch players in there, recruits. And to what PJ said, it's not only just about signing them. We got to develop them while they're there.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, KJ, before we go to final thoughts?
I would just say that having said all of that, getting to the Final Four is still an accomplishment. Right now, we don't do moral victories at OU, but getting to the Final Four is a huge accomplishment for those young guys that play. But I just think there's another level we can and need to get to, and it's not just defense. Defense has been an issue for some years now. That we probably could have won one of those Final Fours if defense was a little stronger and we were a little more aggressive. Because even when Bob was there, I was like, sometimes we got a little. We didn't really go all the way in to me on offense when we played Florida. A little hesitant, didn't use Gresham enough to me. Now that's not knocking Bob. He's one of the greatest coaches to ever coach here. I'm so glad he's been here. He put us back on top. Left us with a very knowledgeable offensive-minded coach. It's a good time at OU right now, but I don't want us to waste. Or let me change. I don't want us to be in a situation where we don't maximize opportunities like being in the Final Four, because I fear maybe at a certain point, if we don't perform on a higher level on that stage, that they put somebody else in there instead of us. Right?
Real.
So when people are picking you for the Final Four, when people are picking you for the Final Four, and you're only human, we know what Oklahoma's going to do when they get there. Let's give them a chance. It's not right, but sometimes it's real. So, again, I'm proud of OU. I'm liking what I saw from Grinch defensively. I saw guys in better position. I saw tackling better. I saw them more aggressive. We need more talent, but I saw him make a difference as a defensive coordinator in the first year with pretty much the same guys.
Absolutely.
I hope he stays. And I hope Lincoln stays. And like I say, if they can get that, that Bobby Bowden, Mickey Andrews defensive chemistry. I ain't worried about the defense. I ain't worried about the offense. They know about both, but it's about talent. Let's make no mistake about it. It's about talent. It's about depth. Because the one thing that drove me every day was I played behind my big brother my first 2 years, Corey Warren. Every day I told him I'm coming for you, and after practice say, I'm starting. and he'd wink at me. It wasn't rude, but it pushed me so much that I wanted to get there because I knew how good he was and how polished he was. Like I told you before, we started doing the little things, being in the right place, not arm tackling, setting your feet and driving them back. It's just basic things that we need to do on the field, but it's who's on the field and who's doing it.
That's real. Final thoughts, Jeff? You want to update anybody on the insurance stuff? We have to get your website up there. We apologize about that. That last time, that was my bad. But I'll get all that done and let everybody know where they can find you. Let everybody know what you think about OU going forward, and finish up.
Ooh, just OU going forward in a good place. In a good place. I mean, a lot of teams around the country will want to have the base that we have now. And so definitely we're in a good spot to take that next leap forward and looking very excited to it. But before I leave, a couple other people that I do want to mention. Got another trainer, Scott Bird.
Scott Bird. I already knew you were going to
Birdman.
He
Shout out to Birdman.
Workout video. Yeah, I love Scott, man.
Yeah. And then behind the scenes, a lot of people don't get the recognition of the trainers.
Yeah,
and,
God bless them. Take care of us.
Yeah, we lost a good friend of mine a few weeks ago, Rudy Carrasco, and he stayed in contact with me over the years. He's a California boy, came out here for a couple of years, and he would always ask, "How's PJ doing? How's Big Mike? Talked to T Brown lately?"
Rudy was cool, man. That hurt me when I saw that, man. It really did.
Oh, yeah.
And JD, you know this too. Those trainers,
I already know where you're going with
they're
it.
like family as well. They really do care about us, man. They really do care about us, and they help us so much trying to get us back on the field, calming us down when we get major injuries, and just being there for us, man. Jeff can attest to this. Obviously, you know it as well. Rehab is lonely.
Woo!
The whole team can be in the room with Jeff. You okay? How you doing? I'm checking on you. This and that. But at some point, we're going to leave, and you're left by yourself. Rehab is lonely, and it takes a mindset. It takes a mental toughness to go to do what you have to do. Go through that pain to try to come on the other side to be healthy and Lord willing, healthy enough to get back on the field or have no longing issues.
What the problem is, PJ, too, that's a great point. Great point. What the problem is a lot of kids haven't experienced that type of isolation yet, and they haven't had the game taken away from them yet. You miss a workout, I can do my Stairmaster, make it up. You miss a practice, well, you ain't gonna miss a practice, but you miss a class and something, blah, 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 blah. You get hurt. Now you working twice as hard for nothing. And like you said, everybody else, and ain't nobody gonna sit there and we're gonna hold JD's spot for him. There's one guy we would hold a spot for, and they made a blue jersey for him, and he goes by the initials AD. So I mean, we understood that, when he got hurt and they came out with a damn blue jersey just for him, it meant don't hit him. It meant he gonna try and play when he wants to play, and just don't hit him, you guys. Like, we don't need to tell y'all no more. He's like a quarterback. That was unbelievable. But I mean, just those type of stories, man, and those type of things. Hey, those are the type of players we got to get back to getting, man. I mean, the number one player in the country has to come to OU. We got to get those players.
Well, and go to what PJ said earlier. Let's put a rope around the state. Lock this up. Lock up Oklahoma. Them boys from Tulsa that are going to other places. Let's get them to come down here to OU. And then, your cats out of Dallas, Houston, East Texas. Hey, come to OU.
And what you just said, Jeff, which is right on, but I have to be devil's advocate. The kids from Tulsa have long gone. All went to Big Ten. Kids from Houston, A&M. Kids from Dallas, now, hell, we got to worry about LSU's coach. Just got Baylor. I mean, there's a lot more to be fearful of for us as a school, because I feel like our recruiting talent pools are gone. Jeff, I don't even feel like they care about Oklahoma like that. I don't feel like they do. I don't feel like they want to go around. They don't think Oklahoma kids are good enough. Not anymore.
We got some talent still.
I'm with you there. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what I feel like they feel. They don't just, you don't hear about a kid in Oklahoma getting offered as a sophomore or junior early. I mean, you rarely hear that. You rarely hear them looking at kids early in Oklahoma compared to kid that's a sophomore has a good game in the playoffs down in Houston, offer. Kid that's in Dallas has a good game as a junior, offer. It's just, I don't know.
Recruiting is the lifeblood of a program. So that has to be straightened out. Now, I'm not one that says I'm get best player. If somebody's from Oklahoma and they're good, but somebody's from LSU, from Louisiana and they're better, get the best player. That's just me. Because when you come to OU, you are a Sooner. Does anybody think Barry Switz is not a Sooner? He's from Arkansas. Does anybody think Bob Stoops is not a Sooner? He's from Ohio. Right? So once you're here, you are a Sooner. Now, I will say I agree with JD on we need to do a better job of evaluating where the elite talent is in this state and signing it. We do need to sign in-state guys, and we need to have a presence in a lot of these schools. That's a lot of work, but that's what they get paid for, is to find talent, bring them in, stack it, develop it. Excuse me, like I continue to say. So we're in a really good time period. Like what we're talking about is finishing right now. Basically, finishing, rounding off what we need defensively and offensively, and rounding off the end of the year. Because we've been in the Final Four, 4 or 5 times, 4 of the 6, something like that. So we've been in the national championship picture, not game, but picture, 4 out of the last 6 years or so. So we're right on the cusp. But sometimes you can get close and not get back there. And I think that the talent infusion, the defensive coaching infusion, and the expectations, I think they can be fulfilled. But until we do that, the best we're going to do is just get there, because defensively, we're not physical enough. We're not turning the ball, we're not getting them off the field on third down enough. We can't just count on the offense to give us 40 points. Just like when we were playing, we can't just count on the defense to just hold everybody. You have to be – most teams are going to be better on one side or the other. It may switch. Most teams are going to be better. But you want to be proficient in both sides. And it's been a while since we've been proficient.
That's real. Man, it's been a great pod. We're going to have to do this again,
JD,
man.
can I say one thing?
Go ahead. Finish us up.
I want to say this. I can't believe that Jeff is becoming a media mogul right now.
My first time to Skype. I'm like, what?
I know. You just don't know how monumental this is, JD. He's behind the scenes all day long. But I want to say this, man. I want to say to everybody out there, hey, listen, take this stuff serious. Take this, what's going on in this world, serious. Look out for yourself.
Serious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, take it serious. And the thing, I that's why you're trying to do the Skype. But and listen, man, it shouldn't continue to take horrific issues in this world for us to come together, man, as people. It just happens too much. And I'm not trying to preach here. Lord knows I ain't worthy of that. But it's always like something really dramatic has to happen for us to look out for each other and be nice. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
go
fun
outside and play, walk with each other, open the door for somebody. Yeah, I'm
like this is real. Now, when I say it's real, I don't mean I'm not gonna live in fear. I'm gonna be aware. I'm gonna be careful. I'm gonna stay prayed up, but I'm gonna try my best not to live in like a sheltered fear. We still got to live our life. You know what I mean? So I just pray that people get through this, get smart through this, and let's not let an R or a D get in the middle of what's going on right now.
Real.
This is about people, and not just American people, but this is about the world. This is a pandemic that can be really, really dangerous. So be smart. And let's pray for each other. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying let's pray for each other, and let's do it when it's not bad times.
Man, can't it any better way than that? PJ Mills, Jeff Frazier, thank you very much. Super producer Brad Reed, thank you. It'll be another great episode of Fullback U. All right. Welcome into Fullback U, and this man needs no introduction. I'm gonna just call it right now. It's gonna be the best podcast we've had. I'm just saying, he's that good. Sam Mays, how you feeling, brother?
Not too bad. Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it, man.
No doubt. You got a great podcast. First of all, just talk about that, how it's going. Love listening to you guys. I laugh all the damn time, so let me know.
Yeah, so my podcast is just called the Sam Mays Podcast. I am very fortunate to work with several great people, but Brett Ashley Ward is the co-host for my podcast. She is 23 and crazy like me. We just have a great time. It's kind of a variety show. I met Brett doing intramural soccer about a year ago. She was ejected from the same game that I was, and I was like, clearly we've got to meet this young lady. And yeah, we do a little bit of everything. We try to start with sports, but we always talk about, whether it's whatever's happening around Oklahoma City. It's a very Oklahoma City centric. We've had great guests on from world-renowned chefs to NFL players to, right now we have Frank Reddy III on pretty consistently, who is currently a contestant on Ink Masters. So we kind of get around a little bit, but we do always try to have a ton of fun, almost too much fun at times, but it's a passion. I started doing the podcast because I thought it would be a great way for me to kind of promote my radio show on the franchise. And then it really kind of became like my diary. Like it's just a way for me to be myself, and just really be unfiltered and just kind of let it flow. Podcasting is amazing. It's the future. And, I've kind of been watching yours over the last several months, and man, you guys have done a great job with this. That looks good. It sounds good. Got a great following. Fullback U is what's up, man. You do an awesome job.
Appreciate it. Well, I'm gonna have to talk to you a little bit about that because I want to get some advice from you here in a little bit. But take me back, and I've been on your podcast, so thank you for coming, having me on yours. Really, really appreciate that. While we were on, I mistaked you for a Texas guy. I apologize, just because you were such a good football player and you come from a football state. But you're actually Ohio. I want to hear about that. I don't know if you know this, but I had plenty of family in Canton. My mom actually was raised by the Football Hall of Fame. So I used to hear stories about people camping out a week before everybody got inducted and just being there. And I've obviously played in Cincinnati, so got some catfish while I was up there. But just talk to me about early days in Ohio.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, on base there, Fort Bragg. My father went to West Point, 82nd Airborne. He did his time, and we left and went up to Youngstown, Ohio. So Northeastern Ohio is a football mecca. There's no question about that. You mentioned Canton. My dad lives about 2 miles from there on an Arnold Palmer golf course. We are very familiar with the Hall of Fame and everything that brings to the table in Northeastern Ohio. It's a huge production. I remember being a little boy and watching O.J. Simpson be inducted, watching him drive down the street in a red Corvette. I've got great memories from playing ball in that area, no doubt. They call it the cradle of coaches. When you look at Bob Stoops, the Pellinis, Mangino's got roots there. Urban Meyer's got roots in that area. There's just a lot of great football players, great coaches. Youngstown State, which Coach Pelini's at right now, or at least he was there over the last couple of years, got him back to a national championship game. Youngstown State in the 90s, man, they won like 3 straight national championships, I think, in the 90s in Division II, Division III. Mount Union's another great school that's in that area that Alice Grinch attended. That, it's another national championship. Just, those are Ohio boys, nothing but Ohio boys that go to those schools and represent that Northeastern Ohio area. So I had an 8-school conference called the Steel Valley. Everybody in the country knew the kind of football that was played there. I think, JD, my senior year, I'm pretty sure we had 24 kids out of those 8 schools to go Division I. And I'm not talking Nevada. I'm talking, Indiana, Penn State, Oklahoma State, Ohio State, big boy football. We played a lot of pro set in your face. Let's just grind it out. You want 300-pound offensive lineman, go to Northeastern Ohio. You want a 350-pound defensive tackle, go to Northeastern Ohio. You want a 240-pound just, chain-eating lunatic of a linebacker, go to Western Pennsylvania. Like, we've just got a great history of football up there. And honestly, I had a bunch of offers coming to high school just like you did. And, to me, playing was important, and playing early was important, because at the end of the day, we were all kind of looking towards the NFL. I know very few college football players or high school football players that have Division I potential that aren't dreaming about the next level, that aren't dreaming about getting a paycheck and the cars and the money and all the things. Like, that's what little boys do, and I had those aspirations also as an 18-year-old. And so when Oklahoma State came knocking, it wasn't necessarily about the school, and I love my school. There's no question about it. But it was more about the other schools. It was Texas. It was Oklahoma. It was Nebraska. It was A&M. I mean, we're playing in the Big 12 in the early 2000s, man. That was the SEC before the SEC was the SEC. And I couldn't pass up the opportunity. And that was the only Big 12 school to offer me. So it was about the pageantry of this league. It was the opportunity to play, against Coach Stoops. It was an opportunity to play in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like, I'm a college football fanatic from a young age. And just the overall just look of the Big 12 was attractive to me, and I had to come out here and check it out. Now, look, Stillwater wasn't sexy by any means when I got there like it is now, but it was the right decision, no question. I loved every second of it.
Two guys I really think of, and they were around my age, Maurice Clarett and LeBron. I'd love for you to talk about just how in Ohio, who they were and what they mean to the state.
So, funny story, Maurice Clarett was actually my running back as a junior. I played with him. He was a true freshman now as a junior, and he was a 400-pound bench presser, JD, as a true freshman. You're wanting to talk about a kid that was just a freak of an athlete. The first 3 games my junior season, I want to say he averaged 230 yards rushing. We changed the whole offense, JD. You would have loved this. We went straight up stack eye. I'd have one receiver, up back, fullback. Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, it was great. It was an offensive lineman's dream. In those first 3 games, that dude ran amok, and then he broke his ankle. And then missed the remainder of that season. And then come that same year's basketball season, he got in a fight with the basketball coach there at Austintown Fitch, where I went to school. He got in a fight with the basketball coach about the color of shoes he wanted to wear. And so this is how crazy Reese's family was, right? So his mother let him transfer, like because of some shoes. Right. So he went from the best school in the district, not from an athletic standpoint, from an education standpoint, where we were located. My school was a 15, 20-minute drive away from where all the violence was in Youngstown. And so she transfers him to Warren Harding, which is smack dab in the middle of just everything, like all the bad things, which was a great school, great football school. There's no question about it. So I didn't get to play with him my senior season, but you want to talk about he's a football player. I mean, you would have loved him because he's a lot like you. Like that's who he is. That's what he does. It's just kind of play football. And it was really unfortunate to watch him go down the path that he did once he got to Ohio State, because we were all pulling for him. You go from Youngstown to Columbus, and that's a dream, and every little kid, everybody you played with, every person that saw you in Northeastern Ohio was cheering you on, go be great for our Buckeyes, and that's why it was so amazing to watch Jim Tressel go from Youngstown State to Ohio State. It's like, holy crap, it's like, that's our guy, please coach, go down there and do it. He won a title. So we were thrilled about it. And then watch Coach Stewart at Oklahoma. Like,
exactly.
You go to Youngstown and there's OU flags flying. Like he's one of us, he's one of ours. And it was always fun for me to watch him do what he did at OU.
And then you mentioned LeBron. I mean, he's a huge. You see him at all the Ohio State games, and just talk about him though.
Yeah. So LeBron James, when you talk about what he was to Cleveland when he was there, I believe, that whole We Are Witness campaign that they had, and like the giant, huge billboards the size of buildings and LeBron James all over the state. Like he's a god, like he made Akron and Northeastern Ohio and Cleveland relevant. He revitalized the city that's been in recession since 1979. LeBron has been everything for Northeastern Ohio, and even what he's doing now. He left. Everybody was upset about it. He left again. People understood it, but he's always going to be an Ohio kid, and everybody's extremely proud of what he's become.
Yeah, mentioning football in Ohio, and I'll end it with that. But so many schools in Ohio, football-wise, in college. So many good football programs. You think of them in Florida, there's just so many schools. You just spread out and just go everywhere. Want to get your thoughts. You talked about or your memories, actually. Some of the coaches, or you talked about the schools that recruited you, but I want to know individually, what coaches were at Texas? What coaches were at Nebraska? What was their game for you? What was their plan? Who'd you like? Who'd you hate? Let me know.
You know what? You're going to be upset about this, and I think you'll probably understand it. I did not care for it, the recruiting process. I didn't care for meeting all those coaches. I didn't care for having a whole lot of conversations with them. I couldn't tell you who was the coach at any of those places when they were calling. The one other school that I was really considering was Georgia Tech, and at that time they had won a title in the 90s. And JD, they play our kind of football, bro. It was that triple option, physical, but it was on a big stage. And they offered as a junior, and I really thought about, because you get that first offer from a pretty decent school, and next the football matches up real well, and it's like, do I want to take this offer now because they did it? And they really tried to strong arm me just a little bit to get me to commit as a junior, and I didn't do it. I went to Georgia Tech. I went to obviously Oklahoma State. I took a visit to Buffalo because I was curious. The guy did a really good job at recruiting me. Miami was a school that I was considering, and a lot of that came down to just the fact that I knew I wouldn't do anything but party like an idiot while I was down there. Michigan State came in late, but yeah, never really built a real bond with any of those coaches. And look, when you came to recruit Sam Mays, you knew you were getting one thing: you're getting a 60-40 run guy. You want a bruiser, need a bully, need a goon. That's what I'm here for. And so it wasn't, my father, when we made that decision about where it was going to go, was based off of, who's going to run the football, who's going to let you develop that style of play, because that's what the NFL was. And that's what the NFL still is today, as far as running the football and being a physical player. So I never really, I can't even think of the one guy, the coach who recruited me to Oklahoma State actually resigned and took another job that spring. So I never got to play for him. So then Mike Jacobs came in, who was the OC at Ohio State. I don't know if you remember this. And then something happened at Ohio State where Mike couldn't coach there anymore. So he was relieved of his job. So he was friends with Bob Simmons. So he comes down and he coached the offensive line my true freshman year. But that was my first year at Oklahoma State, dude. It was a disaster. Like the football team was terrible. Bob Simmons was fired in the middle of the year. When I got there, JD, my first meeting at Oklahoma State, I walk into a room, and so I walk in, I'm ready to go meet some of my teammates, and the room is split. So all the white kids sat in the first 2-3 rows. All the black kids sat in like the back 3 rows. And I'm like, what is happening? First of all, I'm from Northeastern Ohio. Right. I'm out here in Oklahoma. There's all kinds of stuff that I heard. Like you just hear stuff, And I was just blown away by that. And I remember sitting like that for that whole season. And Les Miles came in and changed the entire culture with one thing, by making us assign seats and kind of mixing it up a little bit. That's where, I immediately became a fan of Les and who he was as a football coach, old Michigan guy, offensive lineman. It was cool to, have somebody that was like-minded like that. But yeah, at that point, so between the time Bob Simmons got fired and Les Miles got hired, there was a real period of who's this coach going to be? Somebody had mentioned it might be Mike Leach. And I was like, bro, if Mike Leach comes to Oklahoma State, I got to transfer. I got to find another home. Because it's just not the kind of football I grew up playing.
70% pass.
Yeah, no, I wasn't having that. So outside of that, it was Oklahoma State when they came knocking. It was pretty much, and I took that visit out there. It was pretty much a done deal. I called everybody that offered me scholarships, and I thanked them, and just pretty much, just hell bent on going to Oklahoma State.
Man, talk to me about, when Les Miles, you talked about Bob Simmons. He was a great coach. Coached one, I consider my Adam Edwards like my uncle, man. He helped me growing up. Great person. Talk to me about that transition. The team that I saw, Sam, I haven't seen a team score 28 points faster than when you did my freshman year up in Stillwater. It was louder. The fucking announcer, Brad, you couldn't even hear him say, "Here comes Bullet." After the first touchdown, it was over. I mean, we were just like shit, trying to stay in the game. But just talk about how you transitioned to that and how eventually y'all got up 28-0 on us.
So Les comes in and, like I said, changed the culture immediately at Oklahoma State. It was about the team. It was about putting all the negative shit that we had heard about Oklahoma State football over the years behind us and starting new. And he made a bunch of 2-star, 3-star farm kids from Weatherford and Broken Arrow, and you can talk just some good old boys. And he turned them into pirates. He said it wasn't for Les, it wasn't even about the wins or losses as much as the respect of it. Like, we're going to make people respect us in this league, because at that time it was hard to gain respect in the Big 12 when you got OU doing what they were doing. OU and Texas essentially play for a national championship every year in the Red River game, right? I mean, every year. Like, we would tune in, watch that, and think, well, they're going to be the national champion. That's how good they were. Nebraska was still doing it at a high level. A&M had, the wrecking crew was still holding on at that point. Missouri,
Colorado.
Brad Smith, and then, Colorado's they're going to trot out their 230-pound running backs behind one of the biggest offensive lines in the country every year. Mike Leach and Texas Tech won in 10 games, and they shouldn't have won every year. It was just a test in this league each and every year. And when Les came in and started changing the culture, once again, it was more about being the toughest team in the league. We weren't going to be the most athletic team, but no one was going to be tougher than us. That was the whole goal for Les. We were going to work harder. We were going to practice harder, practice longer. And we bought in because we were nobodies, right? We bought in because no one expected much at Oklahoma State. And that game that you're talking about, 38-28, we
didn't feel like 38-28.
So the year before.
Did not feel like 38-28.
No,
let me just tell you.
Not. And honestly, if I think about it now, I still get hot that it was that score, because it could have been way worse. So we went in 2001 when we stopped Oklahoma from going to a national championship or winning a national championship as that whole Josh Fields to Rashawn Woods, in the corner there in Memorial. And it was just like, holy crap. That was a terrible season. We weren't even going to a bowl game. Like, no bowl for us. So that very next season, here we go again. It's in Stillwater, and we were a better football team, and we were going to our first bowl. And that OU game was, if we could win that, it was a much better bowl. It was, now we're going to the Houston Bowl versus some garbage, first tier bowl. And if you would have told me, so Les was good about motioning players to impact the defensive front, right? So Les was good about putting Tommy in that one technique position, getting him inside, and then let me just block down on him a bunch. Like, that was a goal of his. So let me just lay on Tommy Harris early in games. So the first play we ran was a counter to the right. I'll never forget the first play. And I took him, drove him back probably 6-7 yards into the defensive backfield and planted that dude and stood up. And I thought to myself, oh shit, this is we got this. We can do this, And that first series, I can't think of it. I mean, I want to say we ran that same counterplay 2 more times in a row and they had the same type of impact. But we were running the ball so successfully that it just opened up that passing game, right? And you guys just couldn't stop us from running it. Mm-hmm. And Rashawn Woods and Billy Badgman, great plays he made in that game. These guys that no one thought were going to do anything, but these guys just became stars in that game and just beat the ever-living hell out of OU early. And I think there was a transition that it went from Les calling the plays to Gundy calling the plays, and that's why the offense halted, essentially. Like, they started playing to just get out of here with this W versus keep your foot down on the gas pedal. And I just remember being in the huddle, as you know this as an offensive player, damn well when some weird shit is happening up in the box. Like when they're trying something new, or like when the rhythm is off or the flow is off, or like
the communication kind of stops. Like, what the hell's going on up there?
What the hell are y'all
what y'all doing up there?
Like, and we were so ridiculous. My offensive line men were ridiculous to the point that when you knew we were doing well when we lined up for the huddle. Because when our huddle, when we were playing well, our huddle was like 3 feet from the ball. We didn't give 2 shit who or what. But when we were losing, it was like 8 feet from the ball, which is hilarious. Like, you could just tell what the mood was. And in that moment, that transition period in the booth, we were leaning in. We were excited. We were ready to go. We were huddling up to 2 feet from the ball. Let's go to work. And they kind of stopped us from. And I think maybe it was a respect thing at that point. You can just kind of tell where the game was going. And I don't know what it was, but yeah, that was one hell of a football game, and it got there in a hurry too. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, my dad. I want to get back to that game, but you told a story about your dad that made me think of mine. My dad was very much tried to have a mental control over me. He knew what made me tick, what pissed me off, and shit like that. And so, your dad, the seeds that he implanted in your mind about Tommy Harrison being on the cover of Sports Illustrated, I want to hear your comments on that. And then I want to make it a point to, our motto, our team mood was that Miami and Ohio State were already going to the national championship. And we were like, we can handle Oklahoma State. We ain't got to worry about that. My mind early as a true freshman, I had played in every game. I'm thinking Paul Duran's a really good player. Lawrence Pinson, Greg Richmond, they were pretty good players that we didn't offer, and I don't think they're going to be too fucking happy about us not offering them. So I don't think that we're just going to go up to Stillwater and just handle this game the way everybody's thinking. But the mood for that game was the worst, some of the worst preparation. And that's not an excuse, but it's just it was never taken for granted after that. Like when we played OSU.
So I can attest to that because it felt that way. Like, you guys took the field, Torrance Marshall, I believe, was a linebacker at the time, and he's out there running
he was gone that year.
Was he gone?
Probably El Mitch and Teddy Lehman.
Yeah, that's it. It was Mitchell. That's right. And
Mitchell.
And they were out there kind of running their mouth a little bit, and there was this kind of chuckle when the game got started. It was like, okay, they weren't chuckling about 10 minutes into that first quarter, but there was a bit of a passive feel to them early in that one. That makes sense to me. I never heard that part of it or the way that you guys had prepared, and I totally forgot that the national championship game had been decided essentially at that point. So interesting, but yeah, it was a hell of a game, no doubt. As far as that was Tommy's on the cover of Sports Illustrated that year, and there was that week was just weird in general. But so I'd gotten a bunch of covers and I put them in my locker because this is the guy, right? This is a first-round draft pick. This is the best defensive tackle in the conference. And here I am as a sophomore, and he's going to be my job, once we play this game. And, I stared at him for an entire season. It was one of the last games of the year for us. And we took the field. And, JD, this feeling, especially as a young player, you got fear in your heart. Fear in your heart until you get your hands on somebody the first time. It's that unexpected, I knew he was fast, and Tommy lined up in that 4-eye position. He even played 3 technique. He played 4-eye. He was on the inside eye of the tackle the majority of the time when he was rushing the passer. And I had played tackle as a kid. So it was easy for me to kick slide. Like I knew how to do that. It's part of my upbringing as an offensive lineman. So I kind of had that advantage when it came to over other guards in the conference at the time because I could kick slide like a tackle did. And I mean, my best games in my career were against Tommy Harris. And a lot of it was just because I knew if I wasn't going to be great today, he was going to make a highlight tape. Yeah. So like that fear factor is kind of what motivated me to always to play as well as I did against him. But man, he was a hell of a competitor still to this day and a great guy, great man, has done so much with his life. I'm very proud to know Tommy Harris and to say that he is. That was my nemesis in school, and he was awesome. He's an awesome dude.
Kind of weird question. Did you have any friends on OU's team? Obviously, I had Robert Jones. He's been on our podcast before. I know you may not have had a lot just because you had traveled so many states, but let me know on that.
Yeah, so I never had any friends at the time that I was in Stillwater playing, but here as of late, obviously you and I have connected. Wes Sims is a very good friend of mine. He played with Chris Aiken there in Weatherford in high school, so I've known Wes for a few years. But this is, this was before Facebook. Like JD and I are old. This was before Facebook, before Twitter, before dudes started connecting and going on spring break trips with each other. And I'm trying to think right now, kids have changed so much. Even if JD and I did have Twitter back in the day, and we're very like-minded, same type of football player, different position, but very much the same type of player. If we had had the option to go on spring break together, we wouldn't have done that shit. JD and I would probably been most likely getting a fight before we would ever even say, it's just a different world today. So no, you had friends in Stillwater because you played in this state. I would say that most of the people, in college football at that time, there wasn't a whole lot of, hey buddy, what's going on? You going out there, during the spring type of thing. It was just a different vibe. So I didn't connect with any OU players until after I got done playing. Like, I called Jason White up for the show all the time. He's a great dude. And it's been that era, that there's a brotherhood of that era of Big 12 football. When you talk from 2000 to around 2007, 8, OU was still getting it done at a high level, but the conference, like right before conference realignment, essentially the Big 12 was the best conference in college football. I'm very proud to say that. And I think that, what you and I and our colleagues did at the time on the football field there is something we should all be very proud of. I mean, it was a spectacle. It was a spectacle of a conference. Yeah.
I also mentioned on your pod that Donovan Woods and DeJuan Woods, we all played on the same Little League team. Rashawn was on the T-Birds older squad, so got to play with them. That was a hell of a team, brother, when you got JD at tailback, DeJuan at receiver, and Donovan at quarterback. Not bad. Not a bad squad.
Yeah,
so,
you guys are doing all right. Yeah.
We're doing all right. Other games, I want to hear, I love hearing you talk about football, brother. Other games you played, other top teams, other top players, any memorable moments you got? Let me know.
So my first start, or it wasn't actually a start, it was the first series of my redshirt freshman year against Missouri. Jason Russell was the right tackle at the time, goes down with a knee, right? My coach looks at me and he says, hey, we've got no choice. We got to put you into the game. And I'm thinking, okay. So the left defensive end at that time was Brad Smith. Not Brad Smith. It was who was the defensive end that played for Missouri, ended up playing for the 49ers forever.
Jason, was it Jason Smith or something?
Justin Smith. Justin Smith.
Yeah.
Justin Smith.
Huge biceps, like
I go take my little undersized, underspeed, underprepared. Like there's no better and no worse position to play. But like second string offensive line, like it's the best because you don't even have to practice, but it's the worst because you don't have to practice. And there's very little, like you just as a freshman, I'm out there jerking around at practice. I'm not paying attention to plays like I should have. I'm just not doing the work, the mental work. And it showed in that game. And Justin Smith beat the shit out of me for 4 quarters of football. Like he stole, I thought I broke a couple of ribs that game. I broke a couple of fingers that game. I had never given up a sack ever in my career, and he got 3 in that game. Man. My first 3 sacks came in one game, 2 tackles for a loss. He annihilated me. And at that time in Stillwater, as you leave the field, and by the way, the game went to overtime because why not put Sam out of his misery in the normal 4 quarters? Let's try this fat ass out there to get one more 10-minute period to get in his butt beat.
Yeah.
So at the end of that game, this is a good dude because he waited for me to leave the field. And at the time in Stillwater, as you left the field, you crossed in the tunnel so you could see each other. And he waited for me to come up the tunnel. My head is hung. I got tears running down my face. I've never lost. You know what that feeling is, and like you've never lost. And I got killed today. And he said to me, "You're going to be a great player." He said, "The difference between me and you is nothing but age." And he said, "Keep your head up, learn from this experience, go back to work in the film room." And he patted me on the friggin' head like a child and left. And I was like, and you know what? And when I look back on that moment, it was probably the one thing that got me refocused when I went back to practice that next week. Because he was right. He was right. He took advantage of a young player, and he should have. And, I just remember the look on his face and the smile that he had. He wasn't trying to brag or anything. He knew what he had done, and he knew who I was. And that was probably one of my most memorable games was that one. My second one, though, JD, and you'll appreciate this because it was a very weird time for all of us, and it's kind of very much like the time we're dealing with now with the coronavirus. After 9/11, right, it happens. We're freaked out. College campus, I'm 1,000 miles away from home. Very rough time for this country. We're trying to, it's like, what is happening next? Everybody is scared. Everybody is terrifying, and we missed college football that weekend. The next week, Oklahoma State plays Texas A&M, and it's in A&M. And I will never forget watching 100,000 people stripe that stadium in red, white, and blue. I will never forget the sound of the national anthem. There wasn't a dry eye in the place, not one, because it's kind of it's the American way. It's what we do in the fall, and to get back to football, which I feel like a lot like we're dealing with today, we got no sports, and it's a very odd time, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and just your whole schedule is people just binge watching Netflix. I watched the whole fucking Netflix series about this Joe Exotic today. It's just, you just don't know what to do with ourselves. And I think at that time when football was given back to us after 9/11, it was just this, okay, we got this. This is who we are. We're gonna do what Americans do best and kind of rally. And that game was great. We ended up beating A&M that night, and what was an incredible display of just American patriotism. It was great. There wasn't every Oklahoma State fan in the stands wore red, white, or blue. There wasn't one drop of orange in that place. Everybody did exactly what they should have done. That was probably as far as, just moments, memories, like I can close my eyes and smell that day and see that day and feel that day. It was just great. I don't know who I played against. I don't know what the score was, but I remember just being out there on that field and being so proud to be a part of, that kickoff, that getting it started again.
Yeah, man. I want to kind of go back. That 2002 team. I made y'all. It sounded like y'all throttled us, and it probably should, because Jamal Williams was pretty damn good.
Yes.
What Darren Williams was pretty damn good. Who's the tackle or tight end that went to tackle? He went to the Colts for a little bit. I can't remember his name. Charlie Johnson, pretty damn good. I could go on and on. You guys had NFL play. Greg Richmond was a damn good football player. Didn't even get drafted. Seymour Shaw could have gotten drafted. Tatum Bell's a second round draft pick. Rashawn Woods, first round draft pick. DeJuan Woods was seventh. Billy Badgman. I mean, we ain't talking about guys that, they beat us, but we talking about some dudes that ended up playing in the NFL. And if you can just kind of tie in after you left OSU, what you thought about NFL, all that.
So the guys that I played with at Oklahoma State, they were incredible. I had some awesome teammates. You mentioned Paul Duren, who I think pound for pound at that time was one of the best linebackers in the country.
Dale City Kid, where my brother's a coach there. Dale City Kid. We played him in high school every year. Toughest guy you will ever fucking come across. Yeah, go ahead.
And just hateful in practice, the whole 9 yards. That dude was incredible. But you mentioned Rashawn and Dwan and the Woods brothers, and Josh Fields was an undersized, underspeed. Would throw a duck of a ball in a heartbeat, but just lay it out there for you, do everything in his power to win. Billy Badgman is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my entire life.
Runs funny, but he's hella good.
He's so good. He did run very funny, but he was an incredible player and, a great man of God and somebody, family man, the whole 9 yards. He's done an amazing job post football playing in the NFL. And, just Lawrence Pinson, they're from
Elbert Craig.
Elbert Craig. Yeah.
Love LB.
Kevin Williams. Kevin Williams is the reason I was All-American.
Oh my God. How did I forget Kevin Williams? Spent a long time with the Vikings. Oh my God.
Yeah. Kevin Williams he's the reason I was an All-American. He used to beat my butt in practice. And it was like you'd go so hard in practice and get in the game, and the dude across from you just wasn't Kevin Williams. So that dude was the first pick in the draft, or the 13th pick in the draft in 2003. He was a freak of nature, but had a lot of dudes that weren't highly recruited, 2-3 star kids, Les turned them into monsters and gave them an opportunity to play great football, and they took it to the league. I'm very proud of those guys and the team, the guys that I played with. My offensive, Ben Bowie, salt of the earth, incredible football player. Aiken, incredible football player. Jason Russell, was an incredible football player. John Van Drell, and we just had some dudes that could play, some Oklahoma kids that can play a lot like Oklahoma at that time that y'all were getting it done. That staff, that team for OU was full of Oklahoma kids.
Yep.
Full of them. And that was great. Homegrown product, getting it done, winning national championship was very, very cool to see. As far as my NFL career, I was a preseason first team All-American. I became an All-American my senior season. I was a projected second round pick. I go to the Senior Bowl, decimate all, have a great week of practice. My agent says, "Don't play in a game." And I'm like, "We don't play in a game. Of course I'm going to play in a game. That's what I'm here. I want to play in the game. I want to put my helmet on one more time. I want to wear that orange one more time. I've got this." I'm in great shape. I feel good. I've never missed a game. Never missed a game. The only time I got close to one was in high school. I had a 104-degree temperature, and I still played. I just never missed a game, a snap of football. Yeah. And first series, I step on a dude's helmet. He's on the ground. I don't even know what happened to that guy. And basically just break my whole left leg, essentially. And had a lot of ligament stuff and just a mess. Ended up rehabbing, getting back basically in time to go to mini camp. But at that point, I ballooned to 360 pounds. Can't run, type of thing. Still walked with a limp. I was good enough to make the team in Cleveland, but just never could get back. Could never get healthy. Always had setbacks. And, at that time, an injury for this type of injury for you at 340 is what you played at, somewhere in there, is you're going to have a much easier time recovering from than I did at 340 trying to recover from it. And it just didn't work out. The one thing that for me that I can say is I was really never told no. I knew that I was an NFL football player. Everybody thought I was going to be an NFL football player. When I went to that week of practice at the Senior Bowl, I played my ass off. I had a really good week of practice. I was confident that I was going to be a long-time vet. My father was, everybody was. And so to think that it probably gives me peace of mind to know that football was taken from me in a way that wasn't me failing at it. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I don't know what it is to go play my last high school game and cry because I'm not going to play football anymore, or play my last college game and cry because I'm not going to play football anymore. So maybe that's just me being foolish and trying to make myself feel better about it, I guess. But I don't know. It works for me. It works that I can't imagine not being one of the best at that game. It was my life, my passion, so
sure.
Yeah, that's what happened in my career.
You're damn good, man.
In a meaningless game.
Oh, it happens, man. So I'm sure you have some pretty strong thoughts about guys sitting out bowl games and shit like that.
Yeah. Because I would have told, the older I get, the more I'm like, man, unless it's a New Year's game, I just don't see it. It's just not worth it. You're one step away from getting paid big time money to play a game. So you go out to that bowl game, you lay it on the line one more time, and it's like, shit, I broke my leg or I broke my ankle. And it happens every year. Some kid's career ends in a meaningless game. So as much as it sucks for the teammates, it sucks for the kid, your brothers, but I think a lot of them understand too. Your teammates would understand. No, bro, I get it. You're not trying to play in the Houston Bowl, right? Or the Independence Bowl. You got bigger fish to fry at this point. Thank you for your service. I appreciate what you did for us at Oklahoma State, but don't get hurt doing something foolish.
Yeah. A few more things before we get to Brad Reed, super producer, to bring you your fan questions. Want to get your thoughts. Your genius is, I want to get how you got into media, but also some stuff with the current OSU team. So just let me know how you got into it. I know you did some great work at previous stations, and you're doing great work now. So let me know.
So when I got back from Cleveland, I had a couple of years of dark ages, I call them, where I didn't do anything but make bad decisions, right?
We all been there.
Yeah, just trying to find that identity. That was the part that I missed. It was take that identity that this is what I do every day. I go to the gym, I work out, I play football, I eat 5,000 calories, rinse and repeat. You know what I mean? And now, what is the focus? What are we going to do now? What is the plan? Just a normal job didn't sound appealing to me at all, and I just didn't want to get into that world right off the bat. So I did a bunch of odd jobs and weird things. I was working at a country club when a guy named Jack Morgan came in, and he said, "You're Sam Mays." And I said, "I used to be." And he said, "You want to get in the radio? You've always had a great voice, and you've always been good with the media." And I said, "Sure, I'll give it a try." So every Wednesday for 2 months, I did a remote at Buffalo Wild Wings for Triple Play Sports. It was great for 2 reasons. One, it got me out of the house. I was doing something that I could be passionate about and involve sports. And 2, it was a free meal. Because Lord knows I needed a free meal at that point.
I love some damn wings,
right?
Man. Wings
yeah,
are great.
No doubt. I was broke and, like I said, making a bunch of bad decisions. So I did that for 2 months, and then they gave me my own show. So I worked with a guy named Bill Wineland there at Triple Play for a couple of years. Then the sports animal called and said, hey, do you want to come and do some fill-in work for us? And I did that for a couple of years. And next thing you know, I'm here with the franchise. I got a 9 to noon spot and loving it. Got promoted from 3 to 6. And 6 years later, here we are as I'm, not too bad. The show's pretty good. I have a great sound, developed it nicely. Chisholm Holland's my co-host now. He does a really good job. And we got the podcast life. And we got a bunch of young enthusiastic people that work at the station. But I never knew that I was going to love media, be passionate about media like I am. And that's the best part. Like, I'm good at my job because I can attack it like I attacked a football game, and so Absolutely. It just kind of fits with me. Like this is something that I just feel like I was kind of born to do.
Absolutely, man. I'd be crazy if I didn't get, like I said, your genius is, 1, football, but 2, Oklahoma State and their current football team. I'd be crazy if I didn't get your thoughts on them. I'm biased a little bit. Jason Taylor's my homie. Okay. The safety that stepped in for you guys in the bowl game. He actually did his commitment ceremony in my gym. So I got to work with him in high school. Trace Ford, who had an incredible year, came by a few times.
Dude. Bro, that dude is a player. Are you kidding me?
Listen,
18 years old. Can you imagine what that body's going to look like in 2 years? That dude's a freak.
I'll have to send you the video. But Jason came in. You know how it is. I'll just say it, and you can give your thoughts. There's a lot of guys that play at OSU that are OU good. I thought Jason was OU good. And he's 6'1", got the length, got the runs, plays ball. But anyway, whatever. Didn't have enough scholarships. Probably were waiting on Proctor, who didn't take it. Anyway, Trace Ford came in. I've never seen a kid get 6 yards so fast. I rarely cuss around kids. We do this little drill coming off the edge, and I just said, oh, shit. And, I mean, it's just, right by you, and you're like, dude, you got some pretty elite speed there, and he's just a player, though. But what do you think about your boys?
Excited this year for Oklahoma State. I think that like guys like Trace Young or Trace Ford and we talk Tylan Wallace and Spencer Sanders and Chuba Hubbard coming back. They've got this young nucleus of players that is exciting, passionate about the game. There's a bunch of football players on Oklahoma State's roster right now, and even defensively, I thought they showed up in a big way this season, especially in the second half of the season. They were just more aggressive and more, they just stayed committed to the process. There was an actual method to the madness, and you could see them working through their progressions and just finding, doing the right thing, playing the position the right way, doing your damn job. I didn't know that was ever going to happen defensively for Oklahoma State. So I'm a fan of that team. I'm a fan of those kids and the way that they compete. Everybody out there knows I'm not a Mike Gundy fan. I'm not even going to pretend that I'm a Mike Gundy fan. I think that Mike Gundy is one of those coaches that thinks he's bigger than the program. Is he the greatest coach of all time? Yeah, but there's not one coach in college football at any school that's bigger than the program. Bob Stoops is not bigger than the program. Lincoln Riley's not bigger than the program. Barry Switcher's not bigger than the program. Nobody is. And so I hope that this is a season that Mike maybe makes it about the players more so than maybe about himself. And if he can get the best out of those kids, like Les did it for us, and I'm not talking about the best out of your stars. Mike always gets the best out of his stars. But you need to get the best out of that guard, that left guard that no one expects anything out of. You'll get the best out of that third-team corner or that second-team corner who's coming in maybe playing 25 snaps in a game. Get the best out of him, right? Get the best out of the kids that no one expects anything from, and that's when you get great football teams. That's when you get Mark Mangino going to an Orange Bowl, right? That's when you get Les Miles turning around an Oklahoma State program in 2 years from a team that won 3 games to a team that won 10 and went to a Cotton Bowl. Right? Like that's what that is when you get all those guys to buy in. And I hope they can do that at Oklahoma State because they got a core and a nucleus to that team that makes me believe that they can be in a Big 12 championship game against OU. Right? They can do that. We can have Bedlam this year twice. Yeah. How cool would that be?
That would be awesome. Was that Cotton Bowl the Eli Manning? Was that Roberts talked about that? So Eli Manning.
Eli Manning. God, well, that was a ton of fun. The one thing that Les Miles did that hurt his football team more than anything, which is why I think he had such a hard time at LSU initially, was this dude didn't know how to not practice. So we had that week of the Cotton Bowl, we had 2-a-days. I think that Monday and Tuesday, we practiced 4 times before Ole Miss did once.
Damn.
4 times before they did once. And I just told this story to a friend today. Probably the worst moment in my career came in that game, and I'll never forget it. It was a 4th and 2. We're on the goal line. It's a close game. I forget what the final score was. We barely lost it. We should have won it. And they called a 32 dive, a fullback dive. Right?
Yeah,
I've done this play a million times, coming to right guard. I was so tired that for the first time in my life, when I put my hand on the ground and I loaded that spring, I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel the load. Like literally, I got down in my stance and I thought, oh my God, I can't feel my legs. I can't fire out of my stance. I can't do it. Now, when I tell you that, this would be like you saying you can't do something. Like that's not a thing. Like that's not a thing on the football field. Coach, what do you need me to do? Well, I want you to go get in your stance and I want you to run as hard as that F-250 as you can and see what happens. Like that's who I am as a player. I would have just done that. Even though I'm going to lose to that truck, I'm still doing it, right?
Done deal.
I got my stance, couldn't load the spring, looked at my center. You can see it on the film. You can see my head turn to the left to talk to Ben. And I was like, oh my God, call a timeout. I don't know what to do. I said, I can't do this play. I can't run this play. I just couldn't. I could not do it. And he says, what? And then they snap the ball. I lean forward because I can't shoot out of my stance. We get stalemated in that spot. And, long story short, we lose that game. But I remember coming off the field and Les looking at me because, as far as guards went, I guarantee I was one of the top 10 in the country as a junior at that. I just moved. You need me to move a body of a yard? I'm your dude. Got that. And he looked at me and he said, what happened? And I said, I couldn't feel my legs. I said, you got to put somebody else in. I can't. I'm done. I'm physically done. I'm so tired. I can't play any more football. And I don't know that we got an opportunity to go back out in the field or not after that. I'm pretty sure that I did, but I needed the rest. And even then I was only good for 6 or 7 plays in a series, it was a disaster. But it was that morning, I remember waking up and going, oh my God, I'm sore. Like he had practiced us so hard that week that I was sore on game day Saturday in January.
Man,
what?
That was crazy. Shouldn't be possible.
But he wanted it because Les knew a win against that team and what that could do for the trajectory of Oklahoma State football. Les was focused on the program and getting it better and bigger and all the things. And so I knew why he worked us that hard. But, man, I couldn't imagine that mentality that he had at Oklahoma State. This is a lot like the coach at Texas now. Like that dude goes to Houston and he tells a bunch of nobodies, hey, listen to me and I'll make you great. And he's running 1,300 live snaps in the spring. Right? Tom Herman, 1,300 live snaps in the spring at Houston. Try to run 1,300 live snaps at LSU in the spring. Or even at Oklahoma in the spring. That's just not happening. Those kids don't go to those places to run 1,300 live snaps in the spring. We were doing those things for Les Miles. They weren't doing that at LSU for him. I think that's what same thing with Charlie Strong. You can drive dudes at Louisville to be great. If you tell them, hey, you're going to be great and we're going to play great football, if you do what I tell you, those kids are going to work for you at Louisville. They weren't doing it at Texas. And I think that you see a lot of dudes make that transition. Rich Rodriguez, remember that experiment in Michigan?
Yep.
He was grinding those dudes out there at West Virginia. Easy. Heck yeah, coach, we'll work for you. Go to Michigan. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. So but that combo, man, was phenomenal. You know, remember what the first question was. Just started talking now.
You good, brother? Well, I want to get you on this, and my bro Brad Reed's got 5 fan questions for you. But before that, man, shout out your podcast. The fan questions are awesome too, by the way. But shout out your podcast. Let everybody know if as soon as this coronavirus and social distancing shit clears up, when we can come catch you at Hopscotch, eat some of that delicious food and all that.
Yeah, the Sam Mays podcast is. You can find it anywhere that you can find podcasts. Just put it in the Google machine and find the place that you find easiest to access it. I think we got about 56 episodes. The last 5 or so have been very Corona-esque because we've all been kind of going through this process. We actually skipped episode 50 because I went on this 30-day drinking hiatus, and we were going to have a big old party last week for St. Patty's Day. And obviously it didn't happen because of everything that's happening out there. But yeah, like I said, Sam Mays podcast is a kind of a variety show. Feel free to we've had great guests, JD, Wes Sims. We've had some chefs. We've had some tattoo artists. We've had some people talking about different charities. Brandon Wheaton just joined us not too long ago. I mean, we've had Lane Taylor. We have a good time. We really do. And any support that we can get from you and you guys, that would be great. JD and I are going to be working together here. Hopefully about, as soon as we get done with this Corona stuff, we're going to try to collab quite a bit. Maybe combine our podcasts and two under one umbrella, which would be a lot of fun. I've got plans for podcasts involving just women, podcasts involving the marijuana industry here in Oklahoma. The podcast is the future. It just is. And I think it gives us the ability to be ourselves to a degree, which has been a ton of fun. And I love every second of it.
Awesome, bro. Brad, hit him with those fan questions, bro.
All right, our first fan question comes from at Namaste MFers, or y'all know her as Tammy Sims.
Good old Wes's sister.
What's up, Tammy?
She's got a good one though.
Yeah, what would it have taken to get Sam to sign with OU and JD to sign with OSU?
So for Sam to sign with OU would have taken nothing but Coach Stoops to give me a call. That's a Youngstown boy. There's a 30 for 30 called Youngstown Boys, and it talks about Maurice Claret and Jim Trust in Ohio State. But that term Youngstown Boys is something that means a lot to players and people from that area. Bob Stoops would call me right now and say, "Hey, I need you to come down to Texas and do this for me." And I'm telling you right now, I'd be in my car to do it. It wouldn't have taken me anything to put on that crimson and cream, not one bit.
Yep. All OSU had to do was recruit me a little bit earlier than offer me on the same day as OU. But when you do that, it's a little too
game
late.
over. Yeah.
A little too late. What you got, Brad?
All right, at PD Jaramillo 2, who was your favorite person to block for? Best Bedlam memory.
Gotta be
Okay.
Tatum Bell or Seymour. Gotta be.
You know what? It was Seymour Shaw. So I had the pleasure of blocking for some pretty incredible backs at Oklahoma State in my time. Tatum Bell and Seymour Shaw and Vernon Morency were exceptional. Greg Gold. And we had a bunch of dudes that could play. One game, we had all three of those backs go over 100 yards. Like, that's what we did, run the football. But there was something about that Shawnee boy that when he got into the game, when Seymour came on the field, we knew that we were going to run like 3 plays. One, because I didn't know that Seymour knew a bunch of the other ones. And you could tell him I said that if you see him. But Seymour was like, if you got like utility knives, right? And you look at receiving cores, there's big ones, there's little ones, there's fast ones, there's deep threats, there's, quick twitch guys. Running backs are very much the same. If you can have a stable of them that all do something a little bit different. Well, Seymour was the shotgun. If Tatum was a sniper rifle, and then Vernon was that all around weapon, and then Seymour was that sawed off shotgun. There was one thing that we were going to do, and that's going to hit the A and B gap over and over and over again. And I swear to you, I saw Seymour Shaw one time veer to hit somebody. Like, he chased the safety as he ran into the end zone. Like, he was just that dude, just tough as nails. And it was a pleasure to block for him. He had bad feet at Oklahoma State, which is why he didn't play as much as he did. But he could have easily been the number one back, the feature back in that offense. And it was a joy to block for him.
The cleanest cut dude, walk in with them shiny earrings, not saying much. Yoked though, Brad. I'm talking biceps.
He was a monster.
As a junior in high school, bro. You're like, how the fuck did you get those? Like,
how did you look like that? Yeah,
he's a beast though, man. Next question.
Best Bedlam
memory. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So best Bedlam memory came in 2001, a game I didn't even play in. Okay, so we weren't even going to a bowl that year. So let's let everybody leave after the game. So all the Oklahoma kids, JD, got in the cars with their parents, and they went home, back to the house, right? It's Christmas or Thanksgiving, whatever the hell it was.
Not that easy to get back to Ohio.
Right. So like 20 of us or 30 of us got back on the bus to go to Norman, right? So, or go back to Stillwater. So 15 minutes from campus, we were told, hey, we're going into the basketball stadium because 8,000 people have stayed after a non-conference game to cheer you guys on. So I started looking around the bus and I realized, well, damn, they get ready to cheer on nobody that plays. So there's like 30 of us who no one was even, I promise you, maybe out of the 30 or 40 dudes that took the court that night, maybe 5 have seen playing time, and they weren't like starters. Yeah,
didn't matter.
Bro, I'll tell you what, I put on my warm-up jacket, and I strutted onto that court, threw my hand up in the air like I just won a Miss America pageant, and just got annihilated that night. Like, when the basketball stadium cleared out, I want to say one of the landlords for the football players got a bunch of kegs for us, and we just got knocked down drunk and had an amazing night. That's probably my fondest Bedlam memory for sure.
That's awesome. What you got, Brad?
At J Bretado 493, what is that one experience that you had in the sport of football that had the biggest impact in your life that you could say was very important in making you who you are today? Where do you think you would be if this experience did not happen?
So in 8th grade, my father told me to bring home my pads to help him adjust help me adjust them to my body, like my helmet, my shoulder pads, all that good stuff. And I said, okay. At this point, I was like a lot of young offensive linemen, and JD can attest to this probably better than most. Offensive linemen have a very interesting demeanor as kids because we're always so much bigger than our playmates that we're told, hey, be gentle with
play
Robbie,
nice.
or don't play nice type of thing. So there's usually some sort of real moment in an offensive lineman's life where they plan on taking that next step where they figure out that this is a game that you have to play with hate in your heart. Like you just do. Like that whole play nice thing went out the freaking window when somebody gave you a helmet and tell you to go be a weapon, right?
Yep.
So my dad puts my pads on me, takes me out of the backyard, and tells me to rush the passer. Come at me, right? And for 45 minutes, he beat me senseless to the point that I was like bleeding, right? My mom's out on the back porch screaming and crying. She's like, stop, stop. And I'm not, I refuse to stop because he's talking shit the entire time. Is that all you got? Is that all you got? What's your last name? It's not my last name, like that type of deal, and almost, just threw me around enough that I think at one point he head slapped me and it almost knocked me out, right? So I'm done. I'm on the ground. I'm exhausted. I puked a little bit because I was so tired. And he grabs me by my shirt and he lifts me up off the ground and he says, I better not see one tear run down your face. And he says, that's how we do it in our family. Like that's how the Mazes play football. And my uncles were great football players. I had 3 uncles that were all American caliber, all conference players, Rutgers, Kansas State. Like it's kind of in our blood. It's what we do. And my father was an All-American at West Point. It's really just what we do. And I feel like, that moment for me, understanding that it's okay to not like the person and it almost expected. Like I used to get so mad that the dude would show up. Like I'd go to coin tosses in high school and think, I can't believe you walked your dumb ass out here. Like, I can't believe that you're here for this because I'm going to hurt you now. Like, that's kind of what that moment taught me about it. And I try to tell parents all the time about their offensive lineman. I was like, he's like, well, he's not mean. Give it some time. Let him figure it out, but encourage him. You have to learn how to play it. Like, it's okay to hate in this game. And then afterwards, you flip that switch off, you shake hands, call it a day. But when that ball gets snapped the first time, I hate you. Every part of you. Every little bit of part of you. And Dad taught me that day in 8th grade.
No, that's real. And I told you, and you didn't even know I was going to tell you, but the story of me when we moved from the east side over to Midwest City, and my brother has 4 Division I athletes that are in high school, making me play tackle the man with the football. And hitting me so hard, they're thinking I'm breaking ribs and making me get up every time. Get your ass up. Get up. It's your turn. You can blah, 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 blah.
That's right.
But the same thing of, making them proud 10 years later when they come around and they see you doing the same thing to other people, not even to other people, but kids your age,
right.
That's how you proved that you were worthy back then. And I tell my kids, Sam, and before we get to the next question, just watch UFC. If you're a lineman, watch how those UFC guys talk to each other. You rarely see a guy saying, yeah, I'm hoping for a good fight. You hear him saying, I'm going to go fucking book this, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to go cave his, blah, 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 blah. And that's exactly when you want to get to the NFL, you have to have that mental edge of somebody, or you can't be the guy that will have a mental edge taken over you.
Agreed 100%. Like it's so much of this is about, just staying focused and being able to deal with the overall pain of the game, the physicality of the game, and understanding that you're in a fist fight. Bottom line, it's a fight for survival if you're doing it the right way, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What you got, Brad?
At Boomer19691. For JD, name a player from OSU that caused nightmares. Same for Mays.
You first, Sam. Who you got? Somebody that caused nightmares at OU.
Okay, first, this is such a ridiculous question. I want y'all to think real hard about the defenses I played against an OU. All right, where do we get started about fucking nightmares? Are you serious? Are you serious? Like, I remember going through the roster. I did this not too long ago, and I'm looking at like that 2002 roster, and it's like, oh, well, 9 of the 11 played in the NFL. 9 of them, like, that was some of the baddest dudes on the planet in the game. Was OU's defenses back in the day. Dan Cody was a fucking psychopath, right? Just a lunatic, like on the field. Talking to himself like a crazed, insane Johnny Depp. Yeah. Just a lunatic, right? Yeah. Every linebacker on that team, Teddy Lehman, spearhead, right? Teddy hated you, right? Dusty Dvorak, grown-ass man, right? Dusty, I would never say this to Tommy, and I hope he doesn't hear this, but Dusty made Tommy great because Dusty was so physical in the middle that if you didn't double team him, he was going to break your arms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it felt like blocking Dusty Dvorak one-on-one, that he was going to physically hurt you. And so a lot of the times you go back and watch that era, Dusty's dealing with a lot of double teams, and Tommy's singled out because he played so fucking far out, in that 4-eye position, and Tommy's one-on-one a lot of times. Like, when you think of the success that Ndamukong Suh had in the Big 12 in that era, a lot of it came because he was singled up against a guard a lot of the time. It was that spread offense had run rampant in this league, and he's just one-on-one against a lesser athlete. There's no question. Tommy did a lot of that, but his was more because of Dusty in the middle. Like, Dusty, that nose tackle 3 technique combination, most of the time, they play off of each other. And I thought that he was the truth, man. Dusty Dvorak was a good player.
Real. You'll have to help me with the third name, Sam. But for me, the way we ran power and ISO, obviously I mentioned Lawrence Pinson. He's not one, but he was a good player. And with him as a linebacker at 240, 250, those were always the guys that you ain't running those guys over. You know what I'm saying? But the way you guys played us, I would always be on defensive ends. So my toughest guy, Greg Richmond, Antonio Smith, and I believe Kareem something, a guy from Miami.
Kareem Smith.
Smith. Huge guys. I mean, Scooby, you're not moving. Greg Richmond's tough as hell, and I mean, Kareem's just like fucking 6'8". I mean, that when you're preparing for those deals, it's hard when you're so good that you're able to no other team had that though, Sam. That's the other thing.
Right.
Nobody had DNs like that. Shit, not in the Big 12, maybe Texas. But nobody else had guys like that. So it was a lot like playing against ourselves when we did that. I knew I was in for a damn game. Scooby Smith played 8 years in the league. I mean,
Antonio
Greg's coaching now.
Dude. Yeah. Like, just one of those cats that you didn't want to hit in practice. Like, if they'd call like a counter and I'd have to pull and hit him. And I'm thinking, fuck, because he's gonna be hotter than a hornet about it. I'm like, bro, I don't want to do this either. Like, I don't want to come and pull and kick you. I do not want to do it.
Yes.
Can we go along just to get along, and you pull a kick him and he'd be mad and hot about it. And then coach would be like, okay, do it again. And the next time he would just square up and just run directly and he's just one of those guys, just one of those mean ass defensive linemen. But yeah, he was a good player for sure.
Ran into Scooby not too long ago getting an Herbalife shake over by my school. So I have to link you guys up.
That's good stuff.
Yes, sir. What you got, B?
All right. Last one from @GLynch77. Sam.
Big OSU fan.
Yeah, he is. Sam, did you do any drama classes in high school, or did you major in journalism? You seem very comfortable on TV or on the radio. Have you always wanted to be in the media?
So, no, never really had any aspirations to be in the media. Just talked a lot of shit as a kid. And my father is like I said, he's been in the military. My dad is an exceptional human being. He is, Fortune 500 CFO. He's just a brilliant man. And there was an expectation for us as young people to communicate like upstanding citizens. There was no slang in my family. And I happen to be from an area in the country that really we don't have a quote unquote accent from, like, in regards to like the dictionary, like how words should be pronounced. So Youngstown's kind of like a northeastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania. It's just this area of the country that doesn't just have a whole lot of audible difference in the way that they speak. So like, this is just my normal voice. I didn't have to get rid of an accent or fix it or do any of those things. And I just, it's about being passionate. It's about being knowledgeable and talking about sports. And, I didn't play basketball. I didn't play baseball. I didn't, do anything but play football. But the way I played football and the level that I played it, I get it. I understand it. What makes athletes great, the drive that it takes. Sports are all connected in some way, shape, or form. And all you have to do is just kind of make that connection work for you. And I think I've, had the ability to work with some incredible people. I've had some amazing mentors. When you listen, look at Jim Traber and Al Esbeck and Mark Rogers and, dealing with David Garrett here and the franchise, and Buddy Wiley's been great. Randy Heights. Like, I've worked for and with some exceptional people. Kara Rice, who taught me so much about traditional radio. She is one of the stars in the last, 30 years of radio here in Oklahoma City. Colby Daniels was incredible as a co-host. I just worked with some pretty amazing people, and it's kind of helped me develop my sound over time. And, JD will tell you this. I mean, when it comes to nerves, bro, what's it like playing in College Station on a Saturday?
Man,
the lights are on, like, nerves. Of course, I'm not nervous when I get on TV or do radio stuff, and I am nervous. I still get nervous today for big things, big games, big events, big TV performances. I get nervous, but not like nervous coming out of that tunnel in Memorial Stadium after you beat them 2 times in a row. Like, you want to talk about nerves? When the dude lifted up his little boy over the railing, right? I come out of the tunnel. Never forget this in Norman. I come out of the tunnel. This guy's got his son, like, hanging over the railing. Oh, you geared out. I thought, this kid want a high five or what? And this kid loogied on me from, like, 8 feet out. And I thought, it's going to be that type of day.
Yeah.
It's going to be that type of, like, you just knew. Like, I have never, like, you talk about that 2002 game and how y'all were complacent, and I believe that. I really do. When you think back about it, I believe it. In 2003, I don't know what was said in the locker room. I don't know what the pregame speech sounded like. But if I have never felt more threatened in my entire motherfucking life, I'm talking from everybody, not just the football team. Like, the fans were hot. Like, everybody was mad. There's the only game in Norman my father has ever been to. He's literally said he's never going back. He said he's never. My stepmother said she almost got in a fight in the bathroom. My stepmom, she's an itty bitty little woman, wore a little Oklahoma State mom T-shirt. I guess somebody MF'd her in the bathroom in the stadium. And I was like, that's Oklahoma football. They had lost back-to-back times to Oklahoma State. That's never happened. Yeah. Right? That's not a thing. That doesn't happen in Norman. And but yeah, that was a hostile day for sure.
Man, just to give you a little background, I mean, it was me and Robert Jones talk about this all the time, so he's gonna laugh when he sees this. But I mean, it was militant prep, Sam. It was just what you said. It was, dude. We came in so like I can't remember who we played the week before, but we came in on Sunday. Bob was like, I don't even need to talk to y'all what happened last year. It's not gonna happen. He said, this is what we're gonna blah 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 blah. I'm gonna put it to you this way. We would stop things. Bob was so fucking paranoid. If helicopters flew over, we stopped practice. If if cars were driving by, we'd stop practice. It was a militant fucking week of prep. It was very, very intense. That's all I remember. It was good on good all week. It was stop. No, yeah, this. Look over the head. No, stop. There's a helicopter overboard. I'm like, what the fuck are we worried about a helicopter being over? You know, it was a lot. It was a lot, but it was militant. I tell Bob that story, and Robert just said, he said, you wouldn't even talk shit to me. He said, I tried to get you to talk shit. We went, because I think you got, that was what Dan, Josh, I don't know what it was, like a tuck rule almost, but did Dan hit him and he fumbles and then we recovered? And then we only got a field goal that first round, but we ran a power play, and I go out and I'm blocking one of your DNs, and Bob hits me on the shoulder. He said he was trying to talk shit to me, and I just said, "Not today, Bob. Not today." Right. And he just said that was just the feeling that he got. Never, just like what you said, never felt a more militant team. I don't know, man. It was that was a week of prep. I felt bad that after. I honestly thought, especially like third quarter, I didn't think it was going to really get out of hand. But just the crowd, like you said, it was just so fucking everybody. We're not going to lose this game. We're not going to. What was it like? Lastly, what was it like over on the side? I heard the sidelines were crazy for y'all. It was wild. Yeah, just wild. People like on the first, second row and shit like that. It's not bad.
It was stupid. And you know, Les that year had Les was notorious for the way he interacted with Bob Stoops, and I've always find it so interesting. Yeah, you know, Les didn't give two shits who Bob Stoops was or who OU was. He just wanted to play football, and I liked that about him. But even as a player, and you know, JD, you didn't have this vibe in college because you played for one of the greatest programs in college football history. But I know that you know what it is to be a high school kid and go to a game and know, man, we probably just don't have enough to win this one. You know what I mean? Like no one wants to. You would never say that. You would never tell your teammates that. But we're all human, and you know, like we go through the schedule at Oklahoma State before the season, and it's like, okay, you know, we can win this one. We can win this one. Oh, there's OU, probably not going to happen. You know, then you look at Texas, probably not going. But you could, like, you just, and it's not saying we're going to lose or it's a defeatist attitude, but everybody's realistic, right? If you would have called a timeout or just freeze time before that game and said, "Hey Sam, what's the score of this game going to be?" and I would have told you, I don't know, 105-3. Yeah, I would have just told, because it was stupid. Like Les had wrote a bunch of checks that our asses couldn't cash the week before in the media, you know, doing that same shit he did the year before. The difference was the year before he had some dudes, and we had some bunch of dudes leave. We had a bunch of dudes hurt, and Les was still doing his thing, that dog and pony show. We got our asses beat, but I would have told you that was probably going to happen. And the funny thing about that, JD, If you get a chance, I'll be curious if you want to go back and watch that game. That was probably the best game I've ever played in my entire life.
I will.
And we got
definitely.
stopped. If you go back and watch that grade 76 out, tell me what you think.
Absolutely.
To the point that Mike Gundy in a quiet meeting room that Sunday said, Mays,
Called you out.
you played the best game you've ever played. And because no one was talking. I mean, you could take that kind of ass whooping. No one talks in those meetings. And I sat in the back of the room and I was like, holy shit, that's cool. And I watched the film that day and I was like, you almost like forget about it because one, you're getting your asses beat. And two, you're dealing with Tommy Harris. Like every second just goes so damn fast.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, lastly, you mentioned being physically imposing a couple of your teammates when we used to go play El Reno. Like Father Carter, Josh Ritchie, some big ass dudes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They were their DBs, wide receiver and DBs were like, how the hell they get biceps like that playing wide receiver DB? And I think you guys had a lineman from there. But anyway, man, this is going to be an amazing pod, Sam. I thank you for your time, brother. I kept you way longer
Thank
than I
you
should
so
have.
much for calling me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to working with you more in the future, man. Super producer Brad Reed's going to hook you up, give you a few pancakes for Tommy. So hopefully he checks it out, comes back on, and maybe we can get him to cuss at you or something on the pod. I don't know. That'd be a miracle. That'd be a miracle.
That'll work.
Yep.
All right,
Appreciate you, bro.
Very cool. Thank you.